The annular solar eclipse. It's the biggest celestial event of the year. And hours from now, millions of you will be looking towards the sky to catch this glimpse of the rare Ring of Fire.
Yeah, over 6 million Americans, I should say, live in the path of annularity, and nearly 70 million within driving distance. And for nearly an hour, most of the U.S. will get to see the moon take a bite out of the sun.
But the biggest question, will Mother Nature do its part? The Weather Channel has you covered. We have crews spread all over the West for the spectacular solar eclipse.
Our co-anchor Paul Goodloe is in Corpus Christi, Texas, where the eclipse could be shaded by a little bit of cloud cover. Paul, we've been watching the skies very closely.
Yes. So the sun is shining now. I just used my glasses to check out the sun. No partial yet. It hasn't begun. I think we're about maybe 20 minutes and change away from the beginning of it. We're going to be in the path of the Ring of Fire, the path of annularity here. And we're going to talk to an expert coming up, talk about how you can see this greatest show on Earth, all thanks to the moon, as we continue here on Weekend Recharge. Guys?
Paul, we'll check back up with you in just a second. But first, America's Weekend. It depends on the weather. I'm meteorologist Molly McCullum.
And I'm Lynette Charles. But before we talk all things eclipse, so exciting this morning, we have to get a snapshot of our weather stories for the day.
And that includes, for many of us, it's not only feeling like fall. For some spots, it's feeling like winter. You'll see with Jen Carfagno in Klamath Falls and Chris Bruin and Ely and Jim Cantore in Albuquerque. They're bundled up this morning.
They are. Conversely, you saw Paul in shorts and he has a t-shirt on. He'll tell you all about that too. But as we move into your tomorrow, into your Monday, these temperatures are going to continue to plummet and add more people to the mix for sure.
Now, there's many places that you have several layers on, but also you have the rain gear on because once again, in the Northeast, we are looking at a rainy start to the weekend. But this time, the low pressure system centered right over Ohio is bringing rain and wind to the Midwest. Chicago, Milwaukee, it is a raw start to your Saturday.
Yeah, so we're talking about the Midwest, but we're also talking about the Northeast. Once again, we are dealing with that rain there. It is heavy in spots. That's going to be the name of the game for today. But fortunately, Molly, things will start to improve as we head into your tomorrow.
And we'll bring you all the forecast and the timing you need for this weekend coming up.
Millions of people will be searching the skies during today's annular solar eclipse, hoping to spot the Ring of Fire. 8 U.S. states are aligned on the path of annularity.
But in some spots, cloudy skies may overshadow your view. And one of those places is Corpus Christi, Texas, where we find our very own Paul Goodloe this morning. And Paul, I don't want to make you too jealous, but here back in the studio, we actually get moon pies for the event. I know that, I don't know how that's going to compare to your view, but we're pretty excited.
So excited.
Yeah, you have moon pies. I'll have the Ring of Fire, ladies. So, what they always say, the grass is always greener, but that's because the water bill is higher. So you don't know which one you really want. But, I'll keep checking the sun here in my shorts. What's the temperature there in Atlanta? I think you woke up in the 50s or 60s. So, yeah, I'm in the 70s here. And while my colleagues who are in other states like Nevada and Oregon, even New Mexico, are layers, I actually have a layer of sand because the wind has come in with a cold front, which has dropped our temperatures and dropped our humidity as well. But hopefully, it's not just the colder air coming at the surface. It's colder air aloft. We're seeing some of that cause some cloud cover. We expect that to slowly clear out as we kind of dry out the entire atmospheric column. So we're seeing more and more sun right now. But let's get an expert's angle on what's happening throughout this morning into the early afternoon here and check in with Seth Schisler with the NASA Ames Research Center. And thanks for joining us, Seth. Let's talk about this. Explain this as easily as you can to our viewers what is about to happen and will happen as we head to the early afternoon hours with this annular eclipse.
Having me on. So just really, when it comes to an eclipse, it is the interaction between the Earth, the Sun, and the Moon. And a little bit different from the total eclipse that fully blocks out the Sun. So the Moon is actually its furthest distance in its orbit away from Earth. So that's going to give you its ring of fire there. So that is the main difference between an annular and a total eclipse. It is the distance of where the Moon is in relationship to the Sun and the Earth.
And Seth, it's a rare occurrence on any one given spot in this country or on this Earth, but overall, in terms of happening every year, it's somewhat kind of a frequent occurrence. Kind of talk about that.
Yeah, so it is a frequent occurrence. It does happen a couple different times a year, but given the moon's like to say, not perfect orbit around the Earth, it doesn't always have that shadow aligning on the Earth. So really, it's about, I think, 1 in 365 years, if you are in the pinpoint spot on Earth, that you'll get to observe an annular eclipse. And the next one, I believe, is going to be in 2048. So again, pretty spectacular celestial event today, and all of us pretty excited at the agency.
So Seth, the easiest way, the best way, the safest way is to use these special viewing glasses to view the eclipse, whether it's the path of annularity or even a partial eclipse in other parts of the U.S. Not everyone has access to this. So is there an easy, a simple way to somehow use or view the eclipse when people are literally running out of time to prepare for this?
Absolutely. In case you don't have your special NASA solar eclipse glasses, you can make a pinhole paper projector. And so that is an indirect method of viewing the solar eclipse. There is no safe way to view directly the annular eclipse without some sort of filter or sunshade. So if you do look up the American Astronomical Society, they'll give you a quick how-to of make a quick pinhole projector. You'll just need a couple different office supplies around the house. So it should be a pretty quick way. The main takeaway for the viewers is to not look directly into the sun. Any indirect way of viewing it would be acceptable. And again, take a look at the American Astronomical Society for the pinhole projector tutorial.
So, Seth, for the 6.6 million Americans who live in the path of annularity and the millions more coming into it to see it, what can we expect to see? Because I've been in the total eclipse and I saw like the 360-degree sunset. What can we see when annularity occurs over our heads?
That's a great question. So in terms of duration, you're expecting 2 to 5 to 6 minutes, or 2 to 6 minutes, depending on where you're at within that path of annularity of when you'll actually get the full eclipse. Some of the interesting scientific phenomenon that happens is called Bailey's beads, and what happens during that ring of fire, because of the moon's craters and rocks, you don't get an even circle. So you'll actually get different kind of beads of lights around the circumference of the eclipse, called Bailey's beads. So a couple extra different phenomenon that we don't normally have. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. That's Seth Schisler with the NASA Ames Research Center. Thank you so much for your time this morning. And we are counting down the greatest show on Earth, all thanks to that moon. And here in Corpus Christi, it'll be the last part here in the U.S. before the shadow starts moving out towards the Gulf of Mexico. And by the way, we had the longest duration, just over 5 minutes here in the Corpus Christi area. So find your glasses and enjoy it. I think we're minutes away from the beginning. I still see a total sun right now, but I think at 26 past the hour, we start beginning the partial here in Corpus. But before we see it here in Corpus, you can actually see it farther to the north and west, like places like Albuquerque, New Mexico, where our Jim Cantore is. And Jim, been watching your shots all morning long. It's a chilly start for you, which is good for the balloons. Have you ever been up in a hot air balloon before?
I have been up there a couple of times, and I would love to go up again, but at least it won't be on this trip. But anyway, Paul, regardless, I mean, what a combination of actually being up there and to be able to see the annular eclipse, which, by the way, partial starts for us in about 6 minutes. So we'll start the partial in 6 minutes, and then we'll go for nearly 3 hours. Hey, I want to bring in Dr. Nicki Viall. She's an astrophysicist with NASA Goddard Space Center, which is a pretty awesome title, if you ask me.
It's pretty awesome, yeah.
And we were talking about this, and they say for Albuquerque, the next annular is like 335 years away. How do you know that?
Well, it all has to do with the alignment between the Earth and the Moon and the Sun. And the Moon's orbit, of course, is a little bit tilted. And so you have to wait for just the right time for the Moon to line up between us here on the Earth and the Sun, and for it to be exactly at that right place at the right time.
So lots of math?
Yeah, lots of math.
Lots of math. All right. When you look at the moon, this is, I think, the viewers can relate to this. When you look at the sun or you look at like a full moon, they kind of look like they're the same size. But they're not.
That's right. They're the same.
They're really not.
They're the same relative size because of how close the moon is to us.
Versus how far the sun away is.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. And in fact, the moon is just the right distance so that it fully blocks out the main body of the sun during an eclipse.
Which is just amazing.
Yeah.
And then in totality, you get the glow around it.
That's right.
Which we won't have it in this case, but we'll have to wait till next April. In terms of experiments, you guys can learn a lot when the sun is blocked here on Earth.
Yep.
What kind of stuff are you looking at?
Yeah, so right now, NASA has some rocket launches that are happening to study not the sun, but actually how the atmosphere of the Earth and the ionosphere of the Earth respond to this reduction of sunlight. So they're launching the rockets.
So to tell everybody, the ionosphere is about, 45 miles up? Is that about right? Is it? Okay, I just want to let everybody know what we're talking about, an atmosphere that's above where the weather happens.
Yep, and it's really important for your GPS signals and your radio waves and stuff, and so we want to understand the ionosphere.
Will there be an interruption with this eclipse, or do we know that?
Yeah, we're studying the ionosphere. It's called that because the atmosphere turns into an ionized state, and so that affects how the radio waves propagate. And so it'll be like nighttime, just in that path of annularity.
That's where we get the aurora borealis, by the way, the northern lights, the ionosphere.
Yeah, the northern lights are a really cool effect. They happen because of the energy from the sun being put into the energy of Earth's magnetic field, and then that energy being released and causing these energetic particles to happen.
So that's one experiment. What's the other one?
The other one is that because the moon is blocking most of the sun, but not all of it.
Would it have been 9%?
I think so, yeah.
Like that, yeah, pretty
so
small.
right up there, actually, on Sandia Peak, up in the mountains, they have a instrument called a coronagraph, where they're going to block out the rest of the sun to see the corona around it, the atmosphere of the sun.
So they're going to produce a total eclipse.
So they're going to use the annularity to produce most of it, and then use this coronagraph to produce the rest of it. Exactly. Yep.
How cool is that? Oh my gosh. Dr. Nicki Viall, thank you for talking to us.
Yeah,
I appreciate
thanks so
that.
much.
Viall, sorry about that. Astrophysicist with NASA Goddard. Just some great stuff and some really cool experiments. If you find something out that you didn't expect, because a lot of times as scientists, we kind of know what we're going to get. But sometimes we get something else, right? Let us know.
Okay.
All right, guys. Lynette, some pretty cool stuff going on here because of the eclipse, not just the visual awe that's going on. Back to you.
It is. It's so cool. Love to get all the information here and there. And we're also going to continue to count down for the big show as it gets closer and closer. So let's talk a little bit about the cloud cover. Again, this is something that we've been crossing our fingers that we don't see a whole lot of. As we look at the annularity, the path there, not looking too bad. Klamath Falls coming about 35%, 14 in Bryce Canyon, 0 in Midland. But I want you to look back off towards the north and east around the Midwest. That's where we start to see those clouds because we do have a big system, and even further off towards the east. We will continue to watch the clouds out there as well, courtesy of this big system that's going to be moving through the area for today. So in San Antonio, we can see that cloud cover 30% there, and this happens about 11:54. We're going to continue to watch this go over towards the east. We can see what's happening there. We're going to watch off towards the north, I should say, Klamath Falls, Oregon, as we head into about 35% cloud cover. We continue on as this will continue to be watched by everybody. Molly, this is such a significant day and very exciting, even though we're still here in the studio.
I know. I'm a little bit jealous, right? And you mentioned the big system that's moving over the Northeast and the Midwest. I want to take you to Philly, where it's a mostly soggy day. Any hopes of seeing any part of the annular eclipse, which you would be able to see, of course not annularity in Philly, but you would at least be able to see some of it if we didn't have this system. You can see it looks pretty gloomy, pretty cloudy. We do have some rain that's moving in right now. Look at the areas like Philadelphia. We're talking areas, pretty much the entire city seeing 50s throughout the day, but a lot of rain. Let's take you into where we're seeing the system, this low pressure, the center of it, over towards Chicago. Not only do we have rain, but we also have a lot of wind. I mean, it's sometimes the wind is gusting to 30, even 35 miles per hour. Chicago up towards Milwaukee, Detroit gusting to about 25. And look at the entire state of Pennsylvania. Pretty much everybody's seeing rain. Now rain is starting to move into New York City, as well as Philly, down through Washington, D.C. We do have some coastal flood advisories as well. Parts of Jersey over to even, say, Lexington Park could see a little bit of coastal flooding. Lynette?
All right, Molly, let's take a look at what's going on. We're going to look at some of these views here as we continue to watch this annular solar eclipse. It will begin, it's starting really, and we're going to continue to watch this as we go through the rest of this afternoon. And it's looking pretty good out there. Look at that. Already starting to see a little bit of a bite there. So this is really exciting. We are going to watch this. This is from San Diego, California. We can also continue to, just view this, but make sure hopefully you do have those special sunglasses or you've made something of your own, because you do not want to look at this with your just bare eyes, because that is definitely going to injure you for sure. So if you are not in the path of the Utah, what we're seeing here, definitely, again, things looking pretty good as we go through the rest of this morning and also this afternoon. It is going to be a sight to behold.
Welcome back into Weekend Recharge as we're starting to see the partial eclipse on the way to annularity. By the way, annularity is when you see the ring of fire. You have the sun, the moon, and the earth perfectly aligned, but the moon is at its farthest point. So that's why we see the ring of fire instead of totality. There are 6.6 million people in the path of annularity, and this is actually going to cross over 29 national park units, which I know are full of people right now.
Yeah, so this is what we're watching right here. We're going to continue to let you in on these paths. We can see one in Ely, Nevada right now, and we're actually going to be talking to Chris Bruin, who's actually there. We're going to see that in just a matter of moments, but we're also looking at some other cameras here, and this is what we're going to continue to do until we actually really see that big show that will continue through the rest of today, Molly.
And if you don't have the special glasses, this is one of the best ways to view it right here on the Weather Channel as we look at some of these telescopes that are professionally viewing it. There's also some things that you can make at home that help you view it on the ground. Some pinhole projections, and those are actually all over our social media if you want to check those out as well. You only have a couple minutes left though to make them. Well, a remote town in Nevada could be actually one of the best front row seats to the historic solar eclipse.
Yes, meteorologist Chris Bruin joins us now from the old mining town of Ely, Nevada. Chris, how are things looking there? We did have, so we're really waiting for the big show. We're seeing more people out there from the last time we actually tossed to you. So what's up? What's going on?
Oh yeah. It's really livened up over the last 30 minutes. Now that we are in first contact, so we're starting to get that moon starting to obscure the top notch of the sun. I'll show you that, but I want to show you some of the folks here that are taking it in. They got their glasses, they've got their spots. There's also going to be an eclipse train that will be arriving, loading up passengers and then taking them out for some prime viewing conditions during Annularity, which is about an hour away. I want to bring in Jeremy from the Memphis Astronomical Society?
Yes, sir.
Is that right? So you traveled all the way from Memphis?
All the way from Memphis,
Why
Tennessee.
Ely?
Why Ely? Well, we're doing some work here for our friends from Exploratorium. I'm here with my buddy Rick Honey. We've got 4 telescopes set up, and we're broadcasting a live feed of the eclipse. 2 in hydrogen alpha, 2 in white light. And we're just basically showing the eclipse to the world for anyone who doesn't have a chance to see it live on site.
So we've got the Ely, Nevada camera looking at our feed here, and we can show, what are we looking at right now?
So first contact started just a few minutes ago, around 8:08 a.m. About 12 o'clock, if you're looking at the disk of the sun, and the moon is slowly moving over the disk of the sun and slowly eating the disk of the sun, if you will, as we progress through the partial phases toward full annularity. And I got to tell you, Chris, I know totality and full annularity gets a lot of press. But for me personally, that first bite, that first contact is so exciting. To see that moon just move over the disk of the sun, it's just incredible.
How fast is the moon's shadow moving across the Earth?
Yeah, about 1,800 miles per hour, because we're on the more the western side of the shadow, so it's moving pretty quickly. And it's not just the moon that's moving, but also the Earth is moving as well. So, yeah, it's not like you're going to see it in multiple locations because it's traveling pretty quick.
All right. Well, we're excited here in Ely. Thank you so much, Jeremy.
Thanks, Chris.
We've got crews around the country getting a look at the partial, which is just starting. We want to go to Texas now, where we find meteorologist Alex Wilson. And Alex, what are you seeing there? How lively is the scene, and what are people most excited about in San Antonio?
Well, everybody's excited, obviously, for the Ring of Fire, Chris, right before noon local time. The problem is right now is we've got a little bit of cloud cover. National Weather Service, the office in San Antonio, has been tweeting that we may be looking at the reasonable worst case scenario. Now, that doesn't mean we're not going to see anything, but it does mean that we are keeping more cloud cover around with some of that moisture, at least a moist level that has kept a broken cloud deck overhead. So we're going to see if we can clear this out. We got what? We've got, just a moment or a few moments until we get into that partial eclipse. But then obviously the Ring of Fire we've got just before noon local time. So we're going to be watching that here at the Scobie Education Center and Planetarium. We have seen so many people coming out. So everybody's bringing the chairs, their blankets. We've got the food truck set up. The music is playing. We've got speakers as well. So there are all sorts of experts here to teach us about what we're going to see and what we can learn from what we're going to see here. Obviously, everybody's got their protective glasses ready. And of course, Celestron Telescope, they are here and they are sharing their telescope view with us to share with you at home. So remember, you don't have to be in that path of annularity to see the eclipse. Stay with us here. We're going to be with you until 3 o'clock Eastern time as we bring you all the views of the eclipse here in San Antonio. Again, we're doing, I guess, whatever the cloud dance version of rain dance is, because we want to get this broken cloud deck out of here. We've got much more coming up here as Weekend Recharge continues after the break.
Welcome back to Weekend Recharge. Let's check out some live telescopes now with the lens to the sky as the rare Ring of Fire is underway right now. And we actually do have about 30 minutes until the big show in Oregon. We can see what's going on right here.
Yeah, that's when Annularity is going to start. You can see the partial eclipse has already started. It looks like someone has taken a bite out of the sun right there. And this is, of course, so exciting because there are over 6 million people that are in the path of Annularity. And that path is only about 93 miles wide.
Yes.
So that's a lot of people that get to experience such a fantastic view in the sky. If you miss this one, then there is a total solar eclipse coming up in 2024, just about
April 8th.
6.5 months from now.
Yeah, April 8th. And a lot of people are waiting for that Ring of Fire, but I actually think that this is a cool shot. Like you said, it looks like it's just like a bite has been taken out of it right there. And when we look at this, when you're waiting for the Ring of Fire, you're basically, again, waiting for that moon to take over the sun, but it's too far away, so that's why you just see that ring. It's not going to totally eclipse it, and that's what we were just talking about. You'll see the total solar eclipse in April 2024.
If you're lucky enough to be in the path of totality, which I hope I will be. Our special live coverage continues this morning on Weekend Recharge. I'm Molly McCollum.
And I'm Lynette Charles. So our Weather Channel team has a line to bring you views of today's eclipse from the path of Annularity.
And while some places will have perfectly clear skies, others might not be so lucky. Meteorologist Paul Goodloe is crossing his fingers in Corpus Christi. Paul, how is the cloud? I see some sun, a little bit more than what we saw a couple hours ago. How are we looking? You're looking good in the glasses, though.
You have to get away from your TV, put down your devices, and leave the Weather Channel on, but you got to see this in person. If you can't see this one, you got to see the next one, because, in fact, I'm going to audible. Let me have the lens, because I'm going to show you kind of analogy of what's happening. So compared to what happened in 2017, the moon was, closer to the sun, so it cast a bigger shadow. So this one is going to be like this, where you can kind of just, I'm being eclipsed here. So you have like a Goodloe, a ring of Goodloe here. That's what's happening in kind of the scale of what's happening today. So I'm going to give this back to you. And this is a filter you actually use for that lens. So we haven't officially tightened it up, but we can actually show you what's happening, because at 10:26 we started the eclipse here, and just look at the top of the sun, and you can actually start to see the beginning of the eclipse. It's this kind of a last-minute audible here, but we have to properly. You can see it a little bit, just saw a little bit. It's very difficult because you have to take the filter off because you cannot see me because it's a official filter. So just like these, the sun is actually, the sand is blowing my eyes right now. Just like these, that's the only way you can safely view the sun. And that's the only thing I can actually see here with these official glasses is the sun. If I put them on here, I see nothing. Even the bright lights we have here, I see nothing, but you can see the sun. So we are officially beginning the eclipse here in Corpus Christi on Mustang Island. And again, other parts of the country, you can still see a partial eclipse, kind of similar to what we're seeing here. We have other cameras from San Antonio, from Ely, other areas of the country. You can see that same view in other parts. Just we're in the path of annularity. We'll see the maximum obscuring of the sun, and when that sun finally the moon finally comes right over that sun, all we'll see is that circle, that ring of fire, and we'll see that for 5 minutes here in Mustang Island in the Corpus Christi area. It's a little bit less, a little farther north, up towards San Antonio, then up in North Texas, into Albuquerque, New Mexico, and you keep going. It actually goes over the four corners of the U.S. So we're talking about Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, and Arizona. That four corner spot will see the path of annularity as well. So quite the sight that is beginning already. And by the way, it just started about 19 minutes ago on the coast of Oregon, and now it's here in the Gulf Coast. And by the way, the eclipse is traveling at 198,000 miles an hour. That's how you can see something so quick, and also for such a long duration, long path, because that shadow is moving so fast. So again, we have coverage for the rest of the morning here on a Weekend Recharge, and then through the afternoon, we'll have live coverage through 3 Eastern time right here on the Weather Channel. If you can't see it in person, watch it here on the Weather Channel all afternoon long. Again, we'll have live coverage from the Pacific Coast to the Gulf Coast all day right here on the Weather Channel. Stay tuned.
All right, guys, first contact underway for Albuquerque, New Mexico at about 9:13. So we're, 25 minutes into this right now. Row, New Mexico. Look at the camera. All right. Yeah, we're starting to see that moon taking a little bite out of the sun, I should say, is kind of how it looks right in through here. We will be at Annularity at 10:35 here in Albuquerque for 4 minutes and 42 seconds, and then we'll jump back out of partial, because remember, the moon's going to move across at about 12:09. So that's about 3 hours, actually, here. By the way, our moon shadow here is going to be moving at 2,677 miles an hour. Yeah, so it's going to be moving right along. The path of annularity is going to be about 125.4 miles wide. And if you missed this one, for Albuquerque, are you listening? If you missed this one, the next one comes around for Albuquerque in 375 years. Can't wait for that one. All right, guys, again, live out here at the 51 Annual Balloon Fiesta. I mean, just look at this sea of humanity out here. Just incredible when you look at all the people that we've got down through. As a matter of fact, we've got this camera that Brad's got here. We've also got another one that's down on the field. We can take that one, and we'll have another camera, too, that is looking at the eclipse. And you can see where we are right now, because I'm going to put my goggles on and look up. And these are welder's goggles, just so you know. That's what I'm using. And you know what my question is? And if anybody knows what the answer to this is, drop me a tweet at Jim Cantore. And we're looking at all these different cameras, right? Why does some of the sun get blocked out on the top and some of it on the side? And it's probably easier than I thought the answer would be, but I don't know what it is. So I thought, why not ask anybody? But a lot of people out here today, we're expecting about 100,000. Think about the big house in Michigan. What does that place hold? About 108,000 fans? we're going to about have 100,000 people here today, and that's what we're talking about. We had balloons up this morning. We had a great drone show at about 6:30, national anthem at 7, flyover, and then we had ascension with all sorts of hot air balloons. They've come up, they've gone through the box, went to the north, and came back down this way from the north in Santa Fe. And so just an awesome sight to be a part of all this, and everybody's pretty much jacked about it, as we are. So we are going through our partial right now. We got about 3 hours of this, Annularity about 10:35. We're expecting it here for about 4 minutes and 42 seconds. So less time than Paul, and less than me will be up toward Klamath Falls in Oregon. Let's find out if the clouds cleared out, and if there's anyone that I know would appreciate a great eclipse. It's Jen Carfagno. So Jen, talk to us. Have you worked your magic?
Yeah.
Have you gotten the clouds out of the way?
Jim, my emotions today have been all over the place. I came out this morning, I saw a few stars, so I knew there were some clear skies. We had clearing, I could see Venus. We had a great view for a couple of hours, and then about 15 minutes before we got to that first contact, we got this, which is a cloud deck. However, it is definitely temporary because I've been seeing a lot of movement. I've been seeing some breaks in it, and I'll tell you, I can actually see some clear sky, perfectly clear sky off to my south and west, which is the direction that everything is coming from. So I am optimistic. Now, we are in it right now. We're in first contact. If we could see it, there would be a partial at this moment, although there's too many clouds at this time. And so at 9:17 and 58 seconds, that's when we get into our annularity, and they'll see the ring of fire. So again, I'm optimistic. You can see just off to my southwest, look at that. We do have some clearing skies, and so there's a chance, everyone. There is a chance here in Fort Klamath. I'm at Eclipse Fest, and there's folks who are out in this field, all come together to see the eclipse together. There's a festival set up here. There'll be a concert tonight with Smash Mouth as the headliner, and folks, Umbrophiles, people who chase the eclipse, are here, not to see the eclipse, but to share with others. I had the chance yesterday to talk with Aerica and Neeland from Daystar. They make the filters that are on your glasses, and here's what she had to say about why she's here.
Monitoring the sun really gives us an opportunity to learn more about our universe, and there's different sorts of features that are happening on the sun regularly over time, and with the waxing and waning of solar maximum to solar minimum, you can see the difference of how sunspots are happening on the sun, and how the weather that is coming from the sun winds up coming all the way out to Earth through different solar wind and different sorts of phenomena that can affect our magnetosphere.
The focus is about as good as it'll be because there is cloud in the way, but you can still see it pretty good.
I can see sunspots. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The longer I look at this, the more I see.
That I also am excited to watch the partial through the telescope to see if I can see features on the moon as they pass in front of the sun.
I have to say that was so cool to look through that big telescope. They've got a solar filter on it. They'll be out here again today. But there's folks out here with their own telescopes with filters, people with binoculars with filters. That's key. The sunglasses that are filters for your eyes, or you can always make a pinhole projector so that you too can see the eclipse. We'll continue live reports from Fort Klamath, Oregon.
right, welcome into our special live coverage of the Great American Solar Eclipse. This is an annular eclipse, and you are looking at the partial eclipse, which is happening right now across the western half of the country in different stages between Oregon, Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, and then the Gulf of Mexico, and you can see the different paths here. Ely is about 35 minutes away from Annularity when we get into that full ring of fire effect, which many are looking forward to. And the weather here in Ely, Nevada is perfect. We had some high cirrus clouds, but that has really cleared out. Take a look at the sky behind me really quickly. We've got blue skies, just a few wispy cirrus clouds. None of that is going to obscure any of the viewing conditions here. And I'm going to step out and look for myself, along with everyone else here, at the sun and just get an experience of just how cool this is. For photo ops, this is almost some of the best opportunities as the moon is eclipsing the sun before it gets into that ring of fire effect. And the filters have come a long way. You can even get some for your phone that can help really zoom in and give you that cool effect. Now, we are here in Ely, Nevada, and this is a train town. I want to bring in Mark, the president of the Northern Nevada Railway, and you guys have a solar eclipse train that'll be taking off here momentarily.
Actually, the solar eclipse train is already out.
It's already out?
Yep, it's at our star
pad.
Where
did they go?
We have a star pad because we do the star train during the summer months with Great Basin National Park. Great Basin National Park is an international dark sky park, and it's 65 miles away on 2-lane highway. So you drive out in the afternoon, you see wonderful sights in the dark skies, and then you got to drive back 65 miles under, guess what? Dark skies.
Wow, I bet that's experience.
It is an experience. So we worked with the park and we created the Great Basin Star Train. And so the rangers come to us, we load you up, we take you east out of town on a bench there, and we have a concrete viewing pad, and we set up telescopes during the summer months so you can see the stars.
Have you yourself seen an eclipse before?
Yes, I have, when I was about yay high.
Okay, do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. What are you looking forward to about this one?
Well, now I can enjoy it and remember it more than anything else.
And were you in Ely for that eclipse?
No, I was in Chicago.
Okay.
Yeah?
It's got to be a unique perspective to be here in such a pristine setting.
It is. The railroad is a National Historic Landmark because of our originality and completeness. And we have the original steam locomotives and the whole bit here. And we get to do an eclipse at the same time. In fact, we have a program called Be the Engineer where you can actually operate our locomotive.
Wow.
And 2 people are going to be operating it here shortly during the eclipse. So how cool is that?
That is too cool. Well, we are just as excited as you are. Thank you so much, Mark.
You're very welcome.
We love seeing the trains come to and fro, and the weather here in Ely looks great. Let's check in with things in Texas because meteorologist Alex Wilson, you mentioned there were clouds. How have things improved? Have they improved somewhat? Do you think you're going to get a good viewing forecast for the annular eclipse?
You know, Chris, I'm hopeful that we're going to get a little bit better. Right now, we've got a pretty solid broken cloud deck, but as we look off the other direction where the clouds are coming from, things are breaking up a little bit. So I do hope that given what we've got an hour before we get our peak annularity, that we'll at least get to see some more breaks. We have started the partial, and at times you can see it. Right now, it is obscured by cloud cover, but we do have a camera focused on the crowd here. There are so many people who have come out to the Scobie Planetarium and Education Center, set up in the lawn. They are, you know, keeping an eye not just to the sky, but also on the live stream that the Celestron telescope is providing. And by the way, if you're watching at home, we also are going to be providing that to you. So if you're not in that path of annularity, or if you've got cloud cover, we've got you covered with that. But the music is playing. Again, everybody is excited. We've got tons of experts here, by the way. We're going to be talking to them throughout the show as well. We've got special coverage for you. So our coverage on the Weather Channel does not stop here at the top of the hour. We're going to keep it going 12 to 3 o'clock Eastern time with our crews from Washington or Oregon all the way down to Texas, and we're going to be bringing you each and every one of those live views. We've got Cantore in Albuquerque, of course, Jen in Oregon, Chris in Nevada, and then me and Paul in Texas here for a look. So Molly and Lynette, I'm hopeful. I got my glasses ready. I've already got some sneak peeks. It's just ducking in between the clouds right now.
We're crossing our fingers that, as we get into Annularity, maybe you'll get just a little break in the cloud cover. Thank you, Alex. Well, if you're not in the path of the eclipse, no worries. You can enjoy our special live coverage on the Weather Channel at noon Eastern from the comfort of your couch. Our meteorologists will be positioned in key spots from the path of Oregon to Texas.
Also, be sure to download the Weather Channel streaming app for our solar eclipse special stream.
A spectacular sight that hasn't been seen in more than a decade.
Oh, that's awesome. A solar eclipse makes a fiery ring in the sky over 8 states from Oregon to Texas.
It's just, I can't explain it. It's so beautiful.
Millions have one shot to soak up this rare treat that won't be seen again until 2039.
A lot of folks who see the eclipse today will probably want to see another one.
Who will score a few magical moments?
And who will get shut out by Mother Nature?
Oh, don't you dare. Don't you dare cloud build in front of me. Special eclipse coverage right now on the Weather Channel.
And welcome into our special coverage of the solar eclipse. Our team of meteorologists is spread out across the path of Annularity, and we will give you minute-by-minute coverage of the annular solar eclipse. I'm in Fort Klamath, and clouds permitting, we will bring it to you in less than a half hour from here. And here in Fort Klamath, I'll tell you, the clouds this morning, we had clear skies. We had a few clouds, but we were seeing stars when we first arrived here today. We had a clear view of Venus, which is in the sky behind me with a great clearing in the clouds. And now we've got this cloud deck of altocumulus clouds that have moved on in. They have gotten a little thicker. I will tell you that in the last, half hour. But I will also say that they appear to be very temporary because we do have some clearing that is out there as well off to our southwest, which is the direction that the clouds are moving from. So I am optimistic. You know me, I'm very optimistic that we will get a chance to see it. I'm in Fort Klamath. I'm here at Eclipse Fest, and we've got folks here from around the country and around the world, really, to see the annular solar eclipse. This is something that won't be seen in the lower 48 until 2046. So quite some time until we get the last opportunity to see an annular solar eclipse, which will create that ring of fire around the sun when we get to Annularity, which will happen at 9:17 and 58 seconds right here in Fort Klamath, Oregon. The eclipse is moving fast. When it exits Oregon, it'll be moving at more than 3,000 miles per hour, heading to Nevada. And that's where, of course, we find Chris Bruin. And Chris, what are you seeing right now? Are you getting the partial?
We are, and we are getting close to the ring of fire towards Annularity. We're about 25 minutes away. I'm going to stare at it really quickly because it's moving quickly, guys. I mean, it is beautiful, and this is such great photo ops. It almost looks like a crescent moon, but that's actually the sun that looks like the crescent. One thing that we are noticing here in Ely is that look at the shadows. They're showing that crescent look. And if you look at them, you can see that here. It's almost like a crescent, and you're starting to get that, and that will change as the moon continues to eclipse the sun. And another thing that we're going to be keeping a close watch on here is that temperature drop. And even though it won't go completely dark like it does in a total solar eclipse, we'll see dimmed lighting like you would expect at sunrise or sunset, and enough of a temperature drop, especially in a high elevation place like Ely, Nevada, sitting at about 6,400 feet and a dry climate. Those temperatures may drop 5 to almost 7, maybe 8 degrees in that 4-minute time span during peak Annularity, which is only a little over 20 minutes away, and we've got perfect viewing conditions here for the event in Ely, Nevada. Let's jump down the road a little bit, go to New Mexico. They'll be a few minutes behind, and expecting incredible conditions there at such an incredible time. I mean, timing this out, Jim, with the Balloon Festival in Albuquerque and an eclipse on a Saturday morning. I mean, could you have picked a better forecast or spot?
No, that's why I begged to do this coverage, to be honest with you, because I wanted to be a part of this. I was here back in 1999 to be a part of it again, of course, with having the eclipse. Perfecto. All right. So we're about 33 minutes from Annularity right now. Okay. Take a look at where we're at with it. I'm going to get a quick look here with these welder's goggles, and we're almost half right now. And I'm kind of looking out without them. And there's a little bit of a change in the sun, but like Chris was talking about, the fact that we have such a dry climate out here in the west, we could actually see a temperature drop around 10 degrees because we're going to spend 4 minutes and 42 seconds in Annularity. So we're going to drop, and that's a pretty good drop, but that's what happens when you have a dry climate. You warm up quick, you cool down pretty quick. But we'll be here again, guys, right around 10:35 for Annularity, 4 minutes, 42 seconds. All right, down the road, they're going to get it a little longer than we are. Alex Wilson in San Antonio, who will not only get this one, but you'll get the totality, the total solar eclipse next April.
Yeah, it's kind of the X marks the spot, right? They've been really excited here in San Antonio, and a lot of people have come in. You mentioned, Jim, the Southwest, known for having, that very dry climate, and we've hoped for that. And we do have some cloud cover, if I'm being honest. So we've seen the partial eclipse in bits and pieces right now. But as we look off towards the west, where that cloud deck is coming from, it is a little bit more sparse. So I do think we'll see more open pockets here as we approach Annularity. For us, we've got a little under 50 minutes to go. So 11:52 local time to 11:56 with the peak around 11:54. That would be when that's that perfect ring of fire. So if we can get that cloud break, then that would be ideal. It is dry out here. We've seen dew points into the upper 30s. It is much cooler than yesterday. So with all the people here at the Scobie Planetarium and Educational Center, the weather has actually been very cooperative. The only thing is it's a little bit breezy. So, watching for that. But everybody's holding on tight to those paper glasses and ready to go. Paul, Goodloe, Corpus Christi, what do we got going on down there?
We've got the same wind, maybe even stronger down here, Alex, although you're not getting blasted like sand like I am here. But like you, we have cloud cover. We did see some sun earlier. We saw the beginning of the partial eclipse about 26 past the hour. But right now we have a lot more cloud cover. But there is hope as we kind of look across the horizon here. We are seeing pockets of blue sky. The annularity, the total annularity begins at 11:58. So we still have, looks like another 53 minutes to get some of these clouds out. So, the last 20 minutes, clouds came in. Hopefully they'll move out and we can actually see that 90% obscurity of the sun with this annular eclipse. So looking forward to it. We had a cold front that came through that kicked up the winds, dropped the temperature, dropped the humidity, but gave us this cloud cover. So the timing of that front might feel good on your skin, but not the best for the viewing of the sky here. But it's still, unique here because we will have the maximum length of annularity here in Corpus or Mustang Island. Just over 5 minutes of that ring of fire, Jen. It doesn't sound like a whole lot, but an extra minute compared to say where you are, it's a difference for sure. And I'm very curious to see what that does to our temperature. We have the drier air, we have the wind, so I think we can really notice that drop in that energy coming in from the sun. Jen?
Yeah, no, Paul, are you just rubbing it in that you have a longer totality or annularity than I have? You do, and I have about 3 minutes and 20-some seconds of annularity if we get to see it, clouds permitting, and we're both running into that same situation right now with what's happening in the sky. I mean, these clouds have been moving like they have been for Paul, Corpus Christi. My clouds have been moving as well, although it just seems like more keep moving in to replace them. I've been watching the clearing out there, and it's it gives me all the emotions here, and definitely all the stress, and everyone's feeling it. Everyone's standing out, just looking up. Just everyone's looking to see what we might see. Now, for Paul in Corpus Christi, the eclipse is going to be slowing down. I'll put that in quotes by the time it gets there. That's why they get more annularity. So it'll be it was moving at 7,000 plus miles per hour when it came on the coast of Oregon, slowing down to about 3,500 miles per hour when it reached out of Oregon into Nevada. And so as it goes further south away from the pole, it's going to reduce in speed. Still moving very fast throughout its entire stretch, but it'll move its fastest when it was closest up to the pole, and then it'll decrease in that forward speed as it moves a little bit further to the south, as it crosses down across the United States, the Gulf of Mexico, Central America, South America, and eventually ending over the Atlantic. So here in Fort Klamath, it really has been a stressful forecast. And I would say, Oregon is maybe not known to be the most likely spot to get to see it. We know this time of year we start to get into our weather patterns where these storms come in off the northern Pacific. But I've been optimistic, and we had a perfectly clear day on Wednesday. We also had a perfectly clear day on Thursday. On Friday, we had a perfectly clear day. This morning, it would have been perfect about 2 hours ago. And so we will see, my fingers crossed. We're getting close to that time of annularity. 9:17 and 58 seconds is when we start. And then we still have opportunity to see parts of the partial eclipse, too, until about 10:40 this morning. And that's really the case across the country. You all have the chance to see at least a partial eclipse. And that's one, I think, of the beautiful things about this particular annular eclipse is that it crosses so much of the country. The annularity, yes, is going to be just a thin stripe going through 8 states from Oregon through Nevada, Colorado, New Mexico, and into Texas. But the chance for a partial is really across all of the lower 48 and even part of Alaska as well. And so that's quite exciting, I think. This path of the solar annular eclipse takes it through so many national parks, 25 different sites actually that go from Oregon all the way through Texas. And just north of me is Crater Lake, which I know another spot that people are they're surrounding and lined up to see today. And I'm hoping that maybe they have a little different sky, which can vary, of course, even just 40 minutes away. So it's exciting times here. We are waiting, fingers crossed, that we'll get a little bit of clearing in the next couple of minutes to see this. Let's go back down though to Albuquerque, where the skies are perfectly clear. And Jim Cantore, I have to say, that is the destination to be in. You've got the clear skies, you've got the balloons, and you've got all the people.
Jen, hang with me for 1 second. First of all, you mentioned Crater Lake. I was there during the Weather Channel's 25th anniversary. I remember it very, very well. That was awesome. Number 2, if I could send a bunch of aircraft out there to your southwest and go up and down through that cloud layer, maybe we could get a hole punch for you? What do you think?
That would be awesome. Yeah, call him up, Cantore.
I know. I'll do what I can. I'll do what I can. All right, Jen, we appreciate that. Again, guys, we're sitting here, oh my gosh, 25 minutes from Annularity, and you could not ask for better sky conditions. If you look off to my east, which is, of course, where the sun's not going, at this point, there are some high clouds out there, so we're not too concerned about that. But I want to show you these 3 different angles. You can see behind me what's going on. We got about 100,000 people here, which is absolutely nuts. This is the 51st annual Balloon Fiesta in Albuquerque, which has grown precipitously, to say the least. 13 balloons back in 1972. 13. In 2000, they had over 1,000 balloons, and they had to whittle that down to about 550, which is present day. And to see all these go up at once and then get caught in really what this morning was an Albuquerque box, a weird one because the southerly winds took all the balloons to the south, then they went up, got the northerly winds, which were very, very light, which took them back toward the field. So really, really cool. All right, I'm going to put these welder's goggles on. We're about halfway right now. We got about a half moon, or half sun, I should say, kind of blocking things out. It looks like a half moon because of the way it's blocked out. But it's kind of amazing. It's going to accelerate from here. And if you think about it, with this thing moving at 2,677 miles an hour, the moon shadow that is, it's going to happen in a hurry. So we're within that 3 hours of eclipse time that we have, which started at about 9:13 local time and ends at about 12:09. So nearly 3 hours. And it's interesting, if you missed this one in Albuquerque, the next one's 375 years from now in Albuquerque. The next annular is June 21st, 2039. So that's what we've got going on. Everybody's kind of sitting and watching. I see some people without their glasses, some without, with them. I hope everybody's taking care of their eyes, that's for sure. All right, Chris Bruin, like me, you are in a dry climate. So when that sun is mostly blocked, we're going to see a little bit of a temperature drop, aren't we, buddy?
Oh yeah, and I'm keeping our eyes. We got a temperature sensor over here, and we're monitoring it. We're about 39 degrees right now, so I'm curious to see how far we get during Annularity, which, by the way, is about 10 minutes, about 11 minutes to be exact. It starts here at 9:23 and will last approximately 3 minutes and 43 seconds in full Annularity. That's when we get the maximum amount of the sun covered. We'll get the ring of fire. And you mentioned, Jim, that it was going to be about half, you see about half the sun. We have about 3/4 of the sun blocked now. So it's happening quickly. And we can take our path. There's the Ely path. Look at it. It's like a very small crescent sliver. I was trying to get my tongue tied. I'm trying not to look at the sun too, but there we go. And look at the people here. This is a scene, guys. Not only do we have the trains that are actually out for the Eclipse train, this is a historic site in Nevada. Trains are a huge part of the economy, but also the history here. And all these people, some are locals, but a lot of people came traveling in. They expect the town to about double in size because of this event. And it is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Annularity is coming up, guys. It is going to be an experience. And a lot of people, especially those with the high tech, a lot of scientists really use this time to really study things about the sun. Because unlike in a total solar eclipse where the sun's completely blocked, you can see enough of a sliver, and with the right filters, you can learn a lot about that edge sun, the corona, and then also the moon. And hopefully we get to see Bailey's beads. But as we take you to break, let's leave you with the beautiful scene here in Ely, Nevada, because we are about 10 minutes away from Annularity. The trains are coming in. In fact, if you can, Rodney, if we can pan this way, you might be able to see it a little bit. You can see the smoke and the blue sky. That's the steam engine right there behind the tree. Ely, Nevada. Perfect conditions and full coverage continues when we come back after the break.
Here in Fort Klamath, Oregon, we are right now approaching Annularity. There are clouds that are covering the sun, but it is very apparent that Annularity is happening. The sky overall has dimmed. A darkness has set in. Now we can't see the shadow of the moon over the sun. We can't see the ring of fire because of this big old batch of clouds out here, but it is a noticeable change in the atmosphere. It has gotten darker. You can really kind of see it when you just take a look out in the distance, and where we do have some clearing skies, you can kind of get a sense of how it's gotten darker. Sort of like you would have at dusk. So there's that, and there's also just the feel to the air. The temperature feels to have gotten a little bit colder. Now, I don't think that we're going to have as dramatic as a drop maybe in some spots where the air is drier. We definitely have a raw feeling to the air out here today, but we could lose a couple of degrees thanks to the moon crossing over the sun. We are going to have a total of 3 minutes and change of Annularity. So there's still time for these clouds to move, although I'm not as optimistic anymore. I just feel like there's too many out there. But we still have then until after 10:40 this morning to see the partial. So there's still time for this eclipse to play out in some way for us here in Oregon. And I have to say, even just just being a part of the Annularity, and even though we're not getting to see the Ring of Fire, it's pretty neat to be out here with a group of other folks who, some are umbraphiles, meaning that they chase solar eclipses. Some are just here because they're interested, they're local, and they're just interested in joining the community and seeing the eclipse here today. Some have traveled from across the country, some have traveled from around the world. There's RVs set up, there's people in tents that are camping, and here at Eclipse Fest 2023, it's I would say it's quiet. I think if we had the Ring of Fire, I would certainly envision a lot of cheering. I just heard over the loudspeaker that now technically Annularity has ended, so our option and opportunity for seeing that Ring of Fire is over. Next up would be the clouds clearing so that we could perhaps see some of the partial. We're just a few minutes away from Chris Bruin seeing Annularity there in Nevada, in Ely, Nevada. So let's go back to him. And Chris, you have the blue sky, you've got the partial. How is it playing out, and how is the crowd handling it all?
You know, Jen, I wish you could see it. I can tell in your voice you're so excited. You, of all people, love space so much. But we've got another total eclipse, and even though you still got to experience that drop in temperature, because we're feeling that here like you are there.
Yeah, you know, Chris, and that was noticeable, the darkness and even the drop in temperature, and everyone was kind of, kind of whispering about it, like, oh yeah, it's feeling colder. I mean, that's noticeable, and I need to keep an eye out for maybe some changes in any animals, birds. I haven't seen a lot out here, but that's something that often happens during either Annularity or totality, is that wildlife starts to get confused about what time it is.
Yeah, and one thing that I want to show everybody, Jen, one of the other things we've been noticing is the shadows. Really quickly, we are about moments away from Annularity, and look at the shadows really quickly right here on the ground. This tree, the way it's dispersed, it creates these little crescents. And Rodney, oh yeah, you can really see that. And look at it, that's the reflection of the sun mixed in with the shadows. And we've seen these crescents get smaller and smaller and smaller as we approach Annularity, which is right about now. And notice the dim glow. I don't know if you can tell as much on camera, but I can certainly tell. It's almost like there's a HD lens that I'm looking at everything in. It's muted light. The temperature has dropped. I can now see my breath a bit because of that lower light a bit, and there's definitely been a drop in temperature. I'm hearing crowds. Let me look up at the sun. Oh, there we go. We got the Ring of Fire right there. You got the crowds behind us, and look at the Exploratorium. Here we go. We have just hit Annularity right now. Wow, that is so cool. Look at that. Oh, man. So we'll be in this for a little over 3 minutes, about 3 minutes, 43 seconds to be exact. And how cool is that? Guys, that is live from the Exploratorium telescope right here in Ely, Nevada. The temperature made it to 43, but I bet you it has dropped at least a couple of degrees. And even though the majority of the sun is covered, you still have to have your eclipse glasses on. It's tempting to want to take them off and look at the sun, but it's so bright. It's so bright, but it's so cool to see that. Wow, just look at that here from the Great Basin in Nevada, and what a perfect day to experience this. In a place like Ely, we sit above 6,500 feet. Okay, so you get quite a contrast in temperatures. And in a dry climate, when you get dim lighting like this, you'll notice a drop. It certainly feels a lot cooler than it did when we were in partial eclipse. And the wavy shadows now, I haven't noticed anything with the animals. I haven't seen too many birds out this morning. It's still as can be. I mean, it is as quiet as can be outside. Aside from all the cheers of all the people, the majority of this town is out here right now experiencing this, many for the first time. And they've doubled in population. About 2,000 visitors or so are expected to come on in to the Ely area. But also remember, a lot of people are out camping, and the nearby national park, Great Basin National Park, has been a hot spot for people. There's so many cool spots that have been in the path of this annular eclipse that are just adds to the effect. Being out in such a serene setting and experiencing such a rare event eclipse, you're witnessing part of history. I know these happen oftentimes around the world, but the majority of them actually happen out over the ocean, where many can't see it unless it's a charted expedition. So when it actually comes over your hometown, it's a rare event and it takes hundreds of years. Like Jim said, in Albuquerque, it'll be over 300 years before they have another eclipse like this overhead. Now, there'll be many other eclipses in the U.S., but a lot of them are going to be at least another decade away. We do have a total solar eclipse, though, that'll be just a few months from now into 2024 in April. And unlike the total solar eclipse, the annular solar eclipse is unique in the fact you get that ring of fire. So it doesn't go completely dark, but wow. Wow. Now, one thing that I don't know if you can necessarily see in the glasses, but I know telescopes can. They look for Bailey's beads, and those are the rays that actually penetrate the valleys of the moon and create these little bead-like structures. So I know a lot of scientists and astronomers are looking for those specific details. And when they say a ring of fire, man, it really does look like a ring of fire. We've been in Annularity now for about 3 minutes, so things are ending here momentarily. We've noticing a little bit more of a crescent there on the top right of the sun and a narrowing crescent there on the bottom left. So it's just about ending here for the ring of fire. But how cool was that? Definitely recapping what we just saw here in Ely, Nevada. We noticed a pretty substantial, noticeable drop in temperature for the past 10 minutes or so as we were approaching Annularity. A dimmed glow. It almost looks like HD lenses, like when you put on a filter, and it just, everything's so vivid and vibrant. Really quickly, Rodney, if we can just pan around and show the scenery. Just look at the skies, look at the hills, the mountains in the distance, the fall colors on the trees. They're incredible. And the timing of this, to be on a Saturday morning, is just phenomenal here. In fact, take a look at the golden yellows. Peak fall, by the way, for the Great Basin of Nevada. And the weather couldn't be better. Blue skies. We have a few high clouds, nothing that's blocked our obstruction. The weather couldn't be better here. Temperatures are pleasant. There's no wind. That's oftentimes a big threat. And many times you can even get snowstorms this time of the year. But we've got dry conditions. The flag is as still as can be. The trees are barely moving. But again, we've noticed that dimmed lighting. What a serene setting here in Ely, Nevada, to witness the Great American Eclipse. This is an annular eclipse. Unlike the total solar eclipse, the moon's far enough away where it doesn't completely block the sun, but you get that ring of fire effect, and that is oh so cool. All right, we are out of Annularity now, and we're at that fourth contact as we start to approach now the ending partial. And then eventually we'll be in partial for another 45 minutes to an hour or so, and then the event is pretty much all done here in Ely, Nevada. But I think so many people are kind of just mesmerized, amazed, in awe, and thankful that they got to see it under such serene conditions and such a beautiful spot like here in the Great Basin. All right, now as far as I am away from Albuquerque, New Mexico, where Jim Cantore is, I mean, you're moments away now from experiencing Annularity yourself. So what are conditions like there? Have you noticed a drop in temperature? Because we certainly have here. You can even see my breath at times like you were earlier this morning.
Absolutely a drop in temperature, and not to mention, Chris, what's really interesting here, because we get the cold air drainage that's coming down, from the Sandias and from the north, from Santa Fe, where you go up about 2,000 feet. We've also noticed the winds increasing from the north. So that is another feature that we got going on. The biggest thing I can tell, as you look at our different cameras here, is just how much dimmer it is. It's so much more dimmer than it was. I mean, we're about less than 6 minutes from the start of this thing, and then we're going to go into it for about 4 minutes and 42 seconds, just like you saw with Chris, going through Annularity. We're going to have the perfect ring within that 4 minutes and 42 seconds, the perfect ring of fire, and then you kind of start going out of that. Let me take a quick look here, and it's kind of amazing. There's probably about a fifth of the light of the sun that's left, all right? So we're not obviously at Annularity yet, but it's amazing how bright it still is, but yet how much dimmer it has gotten. All right, so what did I get? I had 54 degrees about 20 minutes ago. Now we're at 52. We could be colder than that. And like I said, you actually have a little bit of drainage coming down from the north. as a result of not seeing the sun being as strong and mixing the ground and mixing it up here. Just so many amazing statistics. The moon shadow's moving at about 2,677 miles an hour here. That's hauling. But yeah, it looks like it's moving so slow, right? Because it's passing in front of a sun that's way from the Earth. Our next annual eclipse, in case you missed this one, you're going to have to wait till June 21st, 2039 to get that one. And of course, we have the big one coming up April next year, which is a total solar eclipse. Make sure you keep the glasses on if you're going to be looking up, because with the Ring of Fire, you're still getting about 9% of the sun that's coming down, and you can do some damage to your eyes. Earlier on, I don't know if you guys were watching us, but we had one of our scientists on from NASA, and she was talking about how the experiments they're going to do in the ionosphere. Now, the ionosphere is about 45 miles up. It's where they do, where the interaction with the Earth's ions occurs during the aurora borealis. That's about where that magic takes place, and they're going to be doing all sorts of experiments with that, and to see how that, something like this, the eclipse, affects that ionosphere. So just really cool stuff going on, because let's face it, we don't get that many opportunities, especially here, to where the sun is actually being blocked almost fully by the moon, with the exception of, like I said, 9%. Looking out over the crowd, guys, I'm just going to take a quick scan. A lot of people looking up, a lot of people with their glasses. Most people actually do have the glasses on, which is awesome. That's what I like to see, and that's what we've been telling everybody about. But there isn't, one of the things I haven't seen since we got here, all the balloons that have been in the sky, all, the planes and things like that, helicopters, drones, nothing. Nothing in the sky right now. Absolutely nothing in the sky right now. So everyone's here now to, enjoy the celestial part of what's going to be happening. And that, of course, is this annular eclipse. Let's see. I'm looking up. Not in Annularity yet, but we are about 3 minutes from actually going into that, about 3 minutes. It's when the start of it. Remember, 4 minutes, 42 seconds after that, we'll start coming out of it. So we'll see what kind of things happen in through here. I know the temperature's going to keep dropping. We'll probably get a big cheer from the crowd, and that's something that is absolutely awesome. But to be here in Albuquerque for such a special balloon festival, where you're talking about, you guys start to hear the cheers picking up? Hear it? Hear them start picking up? Yeah. So we're about 2 minutes now. 2 minutes. And I think where this place is going to go absolutely nuts. You can see our different cameras that we have. We got one on the crowd. Peak's camera is actually up at the moon right now. The dim light, the cool breeze coming down from the north, that's been with us all morning, but it's even stronger now, and you've actually seen the temperature drop at least 2 to 3 degrees from when it all started. That is just an awesome sight. That is just an awesome sight. We've almost got a full ring here. We've almost got a full ring. Still about a minute and a half or so from starting Annularity here. Just an awesome sight. It was really weird too, because for about a half hour there, the crowd was like getting really silent. Like, the animals kind of quiet down, right? When you start getting into an eclipse, they quiet down because they think the sun's setting. Now you're starting to hear everybody picking up again. So while the animals will be going to sleep, here we are as humans in awe of what's going on. Everybody's kind of getting animated again and looking forward to getting into Annularity. So weird just looking out there at everybody just enjoying this wonderful, wonderful moment. And man, you just can't blame them here. Looking up, oh, we're close. We're close. Yeah, we're close. It's starting to happen. Listen. Yep, here we go. Into Annularity right now. Oh my goodness, look at this. Look at that beautiful ring. The Ring of Fire, ladies and gentlemen. We are in it here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. What an incredible sight. Oh, man. Oh, that's just perfect. And what's even more amazing is the moon shadow is moving over 2,000 miles an hour. And it just kind of looks like it's sitting there. And we'll be sitting in this for about 4 minutes and 42 seconds. Now less than that, obviously, about 4 minutes left. But what a beautiful, beautiful ring. The farther south you go, when we talk to Alex and Paul, they're going to have it even a little bit longer. They've got some pretty nice conditions, too, to deal with. Everybody's been dealing with the passage of this cold front. Jen, unfortunately, getting those altocumulus clouds to block things out for her. But, you couldn't ask for someone with a greater spirit to be a part of that, that's for sure. And we'll get her that total eclipse next year, somewhere where the sun comes out. But look at this. Just incredible. Everybody cheering, just in awe. Make sure, remember, keep the glasses on, keep them on. You can't take these off. Like when you have a total solar eclipse, because there's still about 9% of the sun's light that is coming through here. Look at that. Absolutely gorgeous sight. You're looking at Peak's camera right now. Still in Annularity, a really beautiful, beautiful ring of fire here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, to coincide with the 51st annual Balloon Fiesta and what is easily a record crowd of people out and through here. Wow. I'm just going to let you guys enjoy this. One of the things that's going on, I just wanted to share with you, is all of the balloon baskets with their fire are actually lighting up their flames right now at the same time that we're having Annularity with no baskets. You can see Brad panning over there right now. Currently at 52 degrees, so we've dropped a couple of degrees. But they did that this morning when we did the national anthem and the flyover, and that was just absolutely cool. So just kind of a celebration, if you will. If you're a balloonist, or if you know somebody who's a balloonist, that's just a good sign to see those flames, those eternal flames going up here as we're continuing to work our way through Annularity here. 37. So I mean, just a beautiful ring. Look at how long we are keeping that ring of fire. Just incredible. Absolutely incredible. Oh, I'm trying to look at Peak's camera here. Not really catching any of the beads, at least with our camera, because you need a telescope camera to see something that far, that close. But I mean, this is just about as nice as it gets. And isn't it amazing, with only about 9% of the sun's rays making it down, how bright it is? I remember being in Carbondale, all right, for the total back in 2017, and we got this little cloud that happened to work its way over at the time of totality, and I was just like, oh God, it's such a bummer. And it moved away just in time to see the diamond ring and catch a little bit of that totality as it was moving away. So just an awesome sight, guys, just an awesome sight to be a part of. But the darkness versus annual and totality is completely different, all right? You see the temperature drop, sure. It's a little bit different in the summer because the heat from the ground comes up, but in this case, this time of the year where the air is a lot drier, you're gonna see that temperature drop, and we've seen a couple of degrees down so far. It may even be a little bit cooler than that. So guys, looks like as I'm looking at this picture, we are starting to just come out of that perfect ring a little bit. You can see kind of the southern part, if you will, just starting to get a little bit dimmer as we're starting to move back toward partial. Roswell, New Mexico. Let's take a live look at that picture. Let's see, they should be right in the meat of this thing right now. Yep, same, very, very similar to what we have. So just coming out of Annularity a little bit. They've still got it officially because you can still see the complete ring. But, you know, obviously there's more sun on the bottom than there is on the north side. And so just starting to see that sun, again, come a little bit brighter as we're moving toward the out time, if you will, of Annularity. But remember, you've still got, you know, another hour and a half here on the back end to enjoy this partial eclipse if you didn't catch it yet. So we're going to get out of this whole thing at about 12:09 p.m. Mountain Time. But just an awesome sight and something awesome to be a part of here today in Albuquerque, along with the 51st annual Balloon Fiesta with, oh my gosh, at least 100,000 people. And the fact that it's college football Saturday, if you think about the big house in Michigan, holds about 108,000 fans. We held about 100,000 here in Albuquerque today as we're enjoying this. So again, still in Annularity, guys. Still in Annularity here in Roswell. So incredible stuff. So we're just coming out of it now, which is about right on schedule, just getting ready to come out of it. You can see how dark the bottom side is as the moon is passing now just to our east. All right, it's heading down toward Alex Wilson in San Antonio, and it's going to be interesting to see where she is as they head toward Annularity as well. All right, Alex, I hope it's as beautiful for you as it was for us up here in Albuquerque. Over to you. Take it away, darling.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad you got to see it, especially after Carbondale last time. But yeah, we've gotten the partial, so we did see a nice break in the cloud cover. We finally have gotten to see it, so that's good. Oh, sorry, go ahead. All right, maybe I lost him. Okay, anyway, but he really wanted to see it. He missed it last time, so I'm really glad he got to enjoy it there in Albuquerque. We've been kind of doing some fun experiments here as we've gotten the sunshine back out. So again, remember, those clouds were holding tough for a little bit at the beginning of our partial eclipse, but now we've had a lot of fun. I want to bring in my friend, Alex Young. Come on in here. Heliophysicist. He is my brightest friend, both literally and figuratively, because you've got your sunshine shirt on, your eclipse shoes.
That's right.
We're psyched. So we've been doing the colander experiment, so we can actually see the slivers. What have you been excited about thus far? Has anything surprised you today?
Nothing. Well, I've been nervous about the clouds, absolutely, but starting to see the shadows get really sharp is fun. I like that part. Yeah. So as we're getting closer and closer, it's getting more and more focused, and we're getting sharper and sharper shadows.
Yeah. So instead of me being like this really tall, long person,
that's
it's
right.
Like, it looks
sort of this like anticipation with that, and then actually looking with the colander and seeing the little crescents start to come in. I'm excited. I haven't seen an annular eclipse during Annularity. Only partial. So I'm excited because I don't know what to expect.
Oh, I love that. And for a heliophysicist to say, I don't know what to expect during this is kind of like mind-blowing.
Yeah, I mean, that's what makes science exciting is the questions. What are we going to see? So I'm really psyched.
Okay, and we've got, what, 11 minutes? No, 10 minutes
10
now
minutes.
before it starts, 12 minutes before it peaks. You're going to be watching it with us. By the way, Mark Zastrow from Astronomy Magazine, he's also going to be watching it with us, so hopefully you'll join us and check it out. But expecting the temperature to drop a little bit. Temperature has been perfect out here today.
It's been fantastic.
Because we were here yesterday, we were sweating a
little bit hot yesterday.
We were a little sweaty. You know, we know San Antonio has been so hot this year. Everybody's been talking about that. Even yesterday, highs were up around 90. So today, with that wind, the clouds obviously hanging out a little bit, but temperatures have been really comfortable. So we're here at the Scobie Education Center and Planetarium. We've seen tons of people. So you're here on vacation, but we've got a lot of like experts here that are talking as well and teaching us about it. The Celestron telescope, by the way, for those of you watching at home, if you're not in the path of Annularity, if you've got cloud cover, if you've always wanted to see this as well, just like Alex, we're going to be bringing you that Celestron camera, and I know our directors are going to be bringing it up here even as I'm talking. We've also got a live look at what it looks like here at the Scobie Education Center. There are tons of people out here because remember, it wasn't just people here from San Antonio that came out. A lot of people traveled to San Antonio, whether it was Alex or we met some friends from New York this morning. So people have come in from out of town banking on that lack of cloud cover, and it does look like things are going to cooperate because I see a lot of clear blue sky over us. So again, we've got 9 minutes till we start Annularity. We're going to bring it again with our experts. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back into our continuing coverage of this eclipse. You are looking live at Odessa, Texas, where they are reaching the end of Annularity, and we are about to start here in San Antonio. So again, we are truly tracking this coast to coast from Oregon, where unfortunately they had a little bit more cloud cover. Bruin got it in Ely, Nevada. Of course, Cantore just experienced it in Albuquerque. Here in Odessa, they have enjoyed it. And in San Antonio, Texas, it has been palpable, right? So we had so many clouds this morning, and then all of a sudden here, as we have approached, what time is it? It's 11:49. Our Annularity starts at 11:52, and sure enough, there is literally not a cloud in the path of this. So really good news for us. I've got my friends here with us again, Alex Young and Mark Zastrow from Astronomy Magazine. We're super excited. So you guys have been looking at the shadows leading up to this, which has been super cool. And everybody has remarked that here as we approach Annularity, it kind of feels like you put your sunglasses on.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So talk about the shadows, because that was like a really interesting conversation you guys were having. They're a little bit, we talked about how they're sharper, but they're also blurry in spots.
A little bit, yeah. And now they're becoming even sharper because the moon is covering more and more of the sun and making it smaller. It's becoming more like a point source. And here, if you look at these shadows here, I mean, now they're very sharp. Just a few minutes ago, they were actually quite fuzzy because the horns of the crescent were, shining light from different directions and creating a sort of blurring effect.
Yeah, they were kind of sharp on one side and blurry on the other. And then also you can see the crescent, which is almost a ring, where the telescope has making little pinholes. And then if we do a colander.
Oh yeah, this has been fascinating,
we can start to see it here too.
You can actually see the crescents in. So like, science is so cool, right? I mean, look at all this. So I don't want to hog you guys from this, and we're going to watch it together, but like, what are we seeing right now? So again, it looks like we're starting to get close to, of course, our Annularity, and we've got just almost that ring at this point.
Yeah, it's incredible how you can see already how much smaller the moon is than the sun for this particular eclipse.
And it looks almost like an earring now. There's
a
little, there's a little bit that's still left, but we're getting really close to this ring. And as I was mentioning earlier, I've been to lots of eclipses, and I've been to an annular eclipse, but only in the partial part.
Right.
And so I haven't experienced an annular eclipse.
Right.
So I'm so excited because I don't know what to expect.
I love that for you. So we're going to let them, of course, they're going to be mic'd up here with us, and I'm going to be asking them questions, but we've also got all of the fans here. So we've got so many people here on the VIP deck. We've got so many people down below, and I think for a little while, everybody was very, very nervous because those clouds, they were being rude. But we've got it cleared up. Again, clear skies. By the way, our Celestron camera is, or telescope. All right.
I think I can.
You can hear the crowd.
I can see some Bailey's beads.
I can see some Bailey's beads.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
there
explain what the Bailey's beads are.
So
Alex.
we're seeing the valleys on the moon. The sunlight is actually shining through the valleys on the moon.
Oh, that is so
wow.
cool. So you get those kind of little sparkles.
Yeah.
Just for a few seconds there, but I felt I could absolutely see it just with the naked eye with solar filters.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
This is really incredible. So Alex, okay, this is your first time. Now, what do you think?
Oh my God, it's just like
I mean, I'm not a heliophysicist, and I think this is awesome.
Giant hole in the sun.
Right.
It's just fantastic. Wow. This is so cool. And then I'm looking with solar viewing binoculars, and it's so clear.
It definitely feels, it's very different than a total eclipse, though, because obviously it's still daylight out. So, Mark, we still feel like the sun is out. It just does. It feels like you've maybe put down the sun visor or your sunglasses are on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the amount of sunlight that we're getting right now is about 2% of what you would normally have from the sun. What I like to compare that to, if you were on a moon of Jupiter, you'd get about that much sunlight because you're so much further away from the sun.
Right.
So we can say we're like on Jupiter today. Jupiter's moon.
But what's so crazy, though, is the fact that we still have to wear these solar glasses because the sun is just so bright.
Right.
It's amazing.
Right, and you have to use the special binoculars.
You've got to use the special binoculars.
So this is moving so crazy fast, but we still get to enjoy this Annularity for 4 minutes. But the actual moon shadow is moving ridiculously fast.
Right, it's moving more than 1,000 miles an hour. and it's just racing across the U.S. and giving us this amazing 4 minutes.
So I love a good total eclipse, but there is something kind of awesome about this. I kind of like keeping the little ring on the it's like a perfect little hole punch there.
It really is, and then because we have no clouds, it's just so clear.
Oh, Mark's pointing out
Check
that
it out.
your
Your colander.
colander is really cool now.
It's making like these loops.
It kind of looks like doodles. You
Oh
know,
my
like when
gosh.
you're bored in class and you draw little doodles, like little squigglies. So now we've got full-on little squigglies in our colander.
That is so cool.
What about you,
That's
Mark?
incredible.
Oh look, there's rings.
Oh yeah.
Right by the telescope. It's making rings now. Okay, we're getting
Almost
close.
reaching third contact. So we may see more Bailey's beads again as the mountains of the moon make, disappear off the disk of the sun before the valleys do.
And third contact is going to be when the moon starts to get to the other side, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
The ring is broken.
Oh, that's going to be sad. I don't want the ring to get broken.
Do you want to look with these glasses?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Thank you. Wow. This is awesome. Wait, I don't want to do you want I don't want to
No, you go right ahead. I'm actually enjoying looking with the smaller glasses now because
God, it's beautiful.
it's just this amazing hole and there's this ring in the sky. I mean, like you said, the total eclipse is so amazing, but this is such a spectacular view.
Well, and you pointed out that in the total, okay, so here I can see it is starting to edge a little bit closer.
Yeah.
So at what point do you think we would maybe start to see those beads?
Just about now.
Okay.
Just about now.
Just about now.
They're not as bright as you would see during total eclipse, but
that's right. There it is.
Yep.
Very cool.
Little tiny.
Okay.
Yep.
There you go.
There they are.
Yep.
All right, guys.
Big
So we got a
one on
few
the left.
Bailey's beads. Paul Goodloe, you are in Corpus Christi. What do you have?
We have the beginning of Annularity here as well, Alex. I'm so glad that you had that break in the cloud cover. We're seeing a little thin high clouds, but it's not stopping us from using the glasses. In fact, we're seeing this. Let's go to the other camera from San Antonio so we can put our filter on, and then we'll come back in about 5 seconds. Got to show you. Okay, let's go ahead and put the filter on the camera, and we're going to kind of tilt up towards the sun, and we can see the beginning of Annularity up here. So that's from San Antonio. We're going to get our camera up here, and I think we're about 90 seconds away from having the Annularity. So having that ring of fire here in San Antonio. So actually in Corpus Christi. We're at Mustang Island. There we go. That's from our camera right here. So boom, there we have it. We have our ring of fire. 90% of the sun is covered now by the moon, and we had a cold front came through this morning, and it's cooler, drier air, but that drier air, you can feel it cool down quickly. The whole team here on Mustang Island, we've noticed our temperature has dropped the last 20 minutes or so because 90% of that energy from the sun is being obscured. It looks like, it's maybe an hour before sunset, but it's kind of this eerie glow here without the filter on the ground. But that is an amazing view. And the next time we'll see this, well, it's not in our lifetime here in Corpus Christi. We will see or get close to the next total solar eclipse coming up in 6 months. But now we're seeing that perfect ring of fire, 11:58 Central Time, right here in Mustang Island State Park. It's been sold out. We do see some people out here, but perhaps today's wind has dampened the crowd down a bit. It's been windy and cool all day long, but yeah, get your glasses on, look to the sky, and enjoy. Even with the cloud cover, it's still not safe to look without the glasses. This is a phenomenon that I'm very happy that I can see. I do feel for our colleague Jen Carfagno, who missed this earlier, but we have the longest time in Angularity here in Mustang Island, 5 minutes and 1 second. 1 second of annularity. So we're going to see this the longest here. Then the moon, the shadow, continues to move across the Gulf and then onto the Yucatan Peninsula. So this is where it exits the U.S. You can still see it kind of slowly pull away from San Antonio. If you're there in central Texas, you can still see part of the annularity. It's about to end there. We still have about another 4 minutes, just under 4 minutes here, of that ring of fire. Yeah, the first one we've seen since 2012 here in the U.S. And the next total eclipse is happening in about 6 months, April 8th, 2024. Once again, Texas, specifically Kerrville, Texas, in the path of today's annularity and also in the path of April's path of totality. So, yeah, it stretches from central Texas up through Austin, through Dallas, even Little Rock, Arkansas as well. So make your plans now to see that. Well, maybe a twice in a lifetime opportunity. We just had one back in 2017, but this is a sight to behold, both live in person as well as on TV here in the Weather Channel. We're bringing you live coverage from where it started in Oregon to what's ending here in the U.S. Off the Texas Gulf Coast. An amazing view, and wow, it is now noon, and we still have another maybe just under 3 minutes of the total ring of fire, and it is quite the sight to see. You know, we got to keep this filter on here because that's our last live view, but just here in person we are seeing just kind of an eerie kind of dulling of the sunshine here. Again, we're talking, it is straight up noon, the middle of the day, and it looks like it's about maybe 6:45 or so, and it's far cooler than it was when we got out here this morning. Yeah, we're starting to see the slow beginning of the end of that ring of fire, moving towards what, 12:01, just after 12:01 now. So an amazing sight here to see. The next ring of fire in 16 years, 2039. The next time we will have the ring of fire annular eclipse move across the U.S. So Texas, the last of 8 states in this path, 6.6 million Americans in direct path, and we do know that millions more had a short drive to get into this, and it's definitely something that you want to see if you can. We only have a couple more minutes of this here on Mustang Island in Corpus, but plan for the next total solar eclipse. We've been saying this all morning long, now in the afternoon, April 8th, 2024, and I believe that also will be right in the middle of the day. So that's that's where you see the most dramatic changes, when you have the sun in the sky and then it goes dark for a few minutes and then the sun comes back. And looks like that ring of fire is just now starting to reach the bottom of the sun. Yeah, so it looks like we're slowly ending this now, but even looking through my glasses, it's quite the sight to behold. Yeah, it certainly, hands down, today this has been the greatest show on Earth, all thanks to the moon. And Jen, I was in your shoes a little while ago. We had some cloud cover here. I wasn't quite sure whether we could actually see this, but Mother Nature cooperated with us. So I guess 4 out of 5 of our shots got to see this, and I feel for you. I feel for your crew. I feel for all the folks up there in the Klamath area. But we got another one coming up in 6 months. So I'm saying we got a chance, Jen.
I'm going to definitely chase that one. But Paul, we got a partial here, and so you should have heard us as we started to see some breaks in the clouds, and you could see a little bit. Actually, with your camera, your phone was the best way to see it at that point. And then all of a sudden, the whole cloud deck just completely cleared. You can see our partial eclipse right now. We're getting through that third contact, so we still have about 40 minutes left to go of partial. And I'll tell you, it is still quite a sight. You see the big orange round ball that is the sun, and then you see the moon that is exiting its annularity or the eclipse, really. So, sort of a little chunk taken out. Now here at Eclipse Fest, it's gotten a little loud, as you can hear. Tonight, Smash Mouth is headlining the show for Eclipse Fest. So sounds like they're getting the sound tested right now. It's a bit loud out here. Hopefully you guys can still hear me. But I'll tell you what, I'm so excited that at least I got to see the partial. And this is really what people across the country got to see. You know, we focus so much on the path of annularity, and of course that is the big show with the Ring of Fire that we saw in Ely, Nevada, and in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and in San Antonio and Corpus Christi. But here in Fort Klamath, like the rest of the country, we only got to see the partial eclipse because we had too much clouds for the first contact of partial, for the annularity and the Ring of Fire, but now finally we're getting to see a little bit of it. So at least it's redeemed itself somewhat. It's a beautiful day here, as it turns out now that the clouds have cleared and temperatures have started warming up. When we got through that point of annularity, even though we couldn't see it and couldn't see the Ring of Fire, we were able to see some of it, or feel or experience some of the other senses that you get from an eclipse. We saw the skies darkening. We sort of felt just the whole ambient temperature drop. At least felt like at least a degree, maybe even two. There was a noticeable difference, but certainly it was that darkness that set in, and it was very notable when it happened, and just as notable as we were coming out of the annularity and you got more sunlight filtering through, and it made a big difference, just brightening up the sky. It's amazing how, how much change that, 90% can make, because we had 90% at annularity. Even though we couldn't see it, we had 90% of the sun that was covered by the moon. And so now, again, we're getting back through that partial. I get another little glimpse to see where we're at right now. It's quite the sight. And when all of the clouds cleared and everybody could put their eclipse glasses on and there's an announcement made, you heard the cheers go up from everyone here. So at least getting to see the partial eclipse in Fort Klamath in Oregon. Now, as we look across the country and watch for clouds, let's jump back down to San Antonio and check in with Alex Wilson. Alex, did you have any concerns with clouds?
Oh yeah, we totally felt your pain, because for a little while there, around like 10:30, 11 o'clock, it was feeling a little precarious. We had a pretty decent cloud deck. In fact, we didn't actually see the start of the partial. We got little hints and bites here and there, but it really wasn't until about 15 to 10 minutes away from annularity that we actually did get almost perfectly clear skies. And we do have more clouds coming back in, so the cloud cover really helped us out here. And we've been, having fun with science experience. If you're like, why are you holding a colander, Alex Wilson? Well, it's because, again, as we look at the shadows here on our colander, we can still see, if I step here, you can still see the crescents in. So I've hung out with some very smart people today and learned a lot. Of course, Mark Zastrow from Astronomy Magazine and Alex Young, our heliophysicist. What were your impressions? I'll let you go first.
I had never seen an annular before either. I'd only seen a total eclipse, and this is a really compelling visual experience, because you're not watching something disappear. You're actually watching something appear. You're watching a ring form.
Yeah.
As those what I call the horns of the crescent were coming around.
Yeah.
It was an incredible spectacle.
It felt like a lot of movement, and and maybe it's because we've always sold this annular as the supporting act or the lead up to the total. I know everybody gets super psyched about the total, but I feel like it was actually really awesome.
It was amazing, and I've actually spent more time, actually thanks to Mark pointing some of this out, but I've spent more time focusing on the shadows, and I find shadows fascinating. I don't really fully understand how it works. I spent a lot of time understanding light and point sources of light, but not shadows.
Yeah.
So this has been an opportunity to be an observer and just look at and see what kinds of weird things are happening that I'm not used to.
I think I was surprised too by the light. I think it's so dark during a total eclipse, and we definitely turned down the lights, but it still felt like it was daytime. And now it feels like we're right back to it, even though we're still in that partial.
Well, one of the things that I think is really exciting, and I would guess this is part of enjoying weather, is it is something that we all can do. We can all be a scientist. We can all observe these situations that are not the normal, and it's really exciting to be able to experience this.
It's science in its purest form.
Absolutely.
You know?
This is the most basic kind of science we could possibly
Well,
have.
yeah, you put a bunch of scientists around, the three of us, and we're still like, oh, wait, look at that, or oh, did you notice that? And it really does allow you to kind of, make new discoveries.
Right.
What about, so what are your takeaways here for Astronomy Mag? What's the headline for today?
That thousands of people in San Antonio were wowed by this event.
And very, very lucky, right?
Absolutely,
We
yeah.
were all
Clouds
sweating.
cleared right at the perfect moment. So it wound up being fantastic.
Absolutely. I really appreciate you guys hanging out. By the way, let's give them a view of what's happening here at the Scobie Science and Education Center. Austin behind the camera, thank you so much. So we've got, obviously, it's Texas, a mariachi band, and we've got the crowd still out here enjoying. Everybody's got their solar glasses. They've been selling T-shirts. I mean, again, I'll be honest. The mood was a little bit nervous before we got close to Annularity because the clouds were out. But the clouds truly cleared. The food trucks are out. Again, the music is playing, so everybody's really happy. The Celestron telescope got a great view, and you've been seeing that here on the Weather Channel. So again, everything was perfect here in San Antonio. I know everybody was really happy. And again, they're in that path for the total eclipse, so we'll see if our friends come back. And we're going to continue to talk to them throughout the show. I want to get it back to Jim in Albuquerque. Jim, you got it as well. We're having a really good time. I'm sure the balloons are out, and you guys are still having a great party, too.
Absolutely. I'm kind of shocked, Alex, to be honest with you. I would say about 2/3 of the expected 100,000 have left here. But if you were one of those 2/3, or even one of the other 1/3 that's left, and you've got one of these, this is your day. If you're a pin collector, this is the pin. I mean, look at this thing. All right? You can go in and out of Annularity with the pin. How about that? All right? This is one of the hardest pins to get to right in through here. Another thing, too, since Chris had the leaves and the trees and Alex had the colander, I've got this. So we're going to be able to show the actual eclipse. So let me set this up. There it is right there, Brad. So just zoom right in on that. Now, again, remember, we're just at partial, so this doesn't look as good as it would have. We only got about 1/3 of the moon shadow left that's going to go on and through here. But it's better than nothing. You can see on the top of that where we've got just a little bit of that left. All right, I want to bring in Dr. Kelly Korreck. She is the NASA Eclipse Program Manager. And when she gave me her title, I was like, I should probably get a microphone. What is that?
The Eclipse Program Manager is really setting up the agency for success. We focus on the safety, the public engagement, and the science of the eclipse.
And how did this work out for you guys in terms of, do you consider this like a success?
This was a huge success. Folks were safely viewing the eclipse. They were having fun. They were inspired. We were engaging with a lot of different people here and across the path. It was a great day.
Now, it was interesting because we had a few of your scientists on, and they were talking about some of the experiments. And that, just the fact that you get to study the ionosphere, which is where a lot of us, remember and know we see the aurora borealis, but you get to study it at a different state when it's being blocked by the moon a little bit, coming down toward the Earth.
Right, when it's being blocked by the moon, there is this sudden shift and waves that possibly happen during that area, and it's something like when the ionosphere collapses in terms of radio signals not being able to get through. So that's why it's really interesting to understand this and study it and see why it happens and how to predict it and how to sometimes mitigate it if we need to do that communication.
So looking forward a little bit to April 2024 with the total. Anything planned?
We have many things planned, and again, safety is always our #1 priority, so we're getting folks glasses and indirect viewing methods, but then we're also going to try to do a really diverse audience. We're trying to reach as many folks as possible to make them understand that they belong in science and they belong to understand this natural phenomenon and being able to experience it.
And it really is special to see it. It's hard to put into words, isn't it?
It is. It was very hard to put into words because I just kept thinking that this is such a special place. There's nowhere else in the solar system where we have this type of alignment. So we're so special being here on Earth that we can actually see this.
Gosh, I never really thought of that.
Yeah, there's nowhere else in the solar system, and we don't know of any other place in the universe where this happens.
Dr. Korreck, thank you for talking to me. That was awesome. Congratulations on a great day. Obviously a success for NASA and all you guys are trying to do. So more things planned, as you heard, for 2024 in April when we get into the total eclipse. And the big question is, how will the weather cooperate for that? Well, it cooperated here today in the Duke City of Albuquerque. 51st annual Hot Air Balloon Festival, coupled with a Ring of Fire, a perfect one for everyone to see.
Welcome back to the Weather Channel's coverage of this annular eclipse. Meteorologist Paul Goodloe in Mustang Island, the Corpus Christi area here in Texas. And we had over 5 minutes of annularity, 5 minutes and 1 second to be exact. And we're still seeing a partial eclipse here, but it's brightened up. But during that 5 minutes, it got a lot darker. It even got a little cooler in the area. So we're going to show you what's going on overhead. But right now, we're going to take you out towards Odessa, Texas. We have a camera there. They were in annularity a little while ago. So let's put the filter on our lens here and we're going to tilt up and you can see what's happening in Odessa. And then we're going to come back here to the Corpus Christi area and we can still see it looks like a crescent moon, but technically through that filter, that is the sun. You look at the live view here from Mustang Island and still quite the sight in the sky here. We had 5 minutes of that perfect ring of fire. This was the longest duration of that ring of fire anywhere here in the United States, and we really, really enjoyed it. And we were concerned because we had a cold front that came through this morning, and while we definitely enjoyed the drop in humidity and temperature, it also brought some cloud cover when you still have that humidity a little higher up in the sky and the cooler air coming through, the condensing cloud cover. That has pushed off a little bit. We had the same concern up towards San Antonio a little while ago this morning. That cleared out as well. So much of South and Central Texas had a great view of this. There was a little while, actually, we had thick enough cloud cover where our solar lenses weren't working because there wasn't enough light coming through, but you can almost see it filtered through a thick cloud layer of that eclipse. So a lot of people got to enjoy this. 6.6 million Americans indirectly in this path of that annularity, and it was quite the sight to see. And we are actually feeling a little bit warmer now. It's amazing the energy that we lost when we had 90% of that sun covered. That is truly amazing, and it's fascinating for us kind of weather geeks because we do know that the sun is our great driver of the weather here, because the sun is what comes down and heats up the ground. Then the ground or things on the ground, then that heats the air, which then starts to rise, and it causes all the vertical motion in the atmosphere, which we describe as weather. And also, by the way, our wind dropped a little bit as well. With that drop in that energy from the sun, you don't have as much change in the heating, so our wind died off a little bit. It's starting to pick up a little bit more, but it's been a breezy day for sure. All right, let's head up towards Ely, Nevada, where Chris Bruin is. And Chris, you too had that enjoyment of that annularity, although I think you had maybe 90 seconds less than I did. It's amazing how long 5 minutes feels like, but I'm pretty sure you quite the sight you guys had there in Nevada.
Yeah, Paul. You know, it went quick. We didn't get as long. We were at 3 minutes and 43 seconds, so you had a good solid minute and a half more than we did. But it was an experience, and as fast as the moon is moving, it's crazy how it just looks like it parked over the sun for a couple of minutes. One of the coolest things that we experienced here was that dimmed lighting and the peak fall colors. I mean, the trees are brilliant yellow, the skies are blue, very little cloud cover whatsoever. You could have had better forecasts, and the temperature actually dropped 6 degrees. That was the official measurement at the Ely Airport that our weather producer, Jill's, back home in studio, was informing me about. To get that kind of a drop on an annular solar eclipse is impressive, and that will probably be one of the higher drops we'll see, because you got to have a dry climate to see that kind of fluctuate in temperature. We'll also sit pretty high in elevation. We're at a high valley that sits at the base of some big, tall mountains, so that cold air drains down into the valley. And believe it or not, Ely is actually one of the coldest cities in the lower 48, with an average of 215 nights a year below freezing. We got below freezing last night. The temperature went from 45 just before Annularity and then dropped to 39 during Annularity, and it did get cold. Now, if it were a total solar eclipse, that drop would have been a lot more, but the shadows, the dimmed lighting, it was a spectacle that thousands here in Ely got to experience. If you are curious and want to find more coverage of the solar eclipse here across the U.S., be sure to watch our streaming app. We've got continuous feeds as this is continuing to push through Central and even South America is where it's headed to next, and more behind the scenes and even replays of what we experience here from Oregon to Nevada and also all the way back through New Mexico and Texas. More continuing coverage, especially getting reactions, coming up next.
Well, here in San Antonio, Texas, the skies cleared just in time. We got to enjoy our 4 minutes of the Ring of Fire. We're still impartial at this point, and the party is still ongoing. You can hear the mariachi band. The people are still out and about, and everybody still have their glasses on, you know, getting some peeks here at the sun. But I want to bring back my expert friends because I've had so much fun today. It's fun to watch an eclipse. It's even fun to watch with brilliant minds who teach you some things. So Mark Zastrow from Astronomy Magazine, and of course, Alex Young, our heliophysicist, with some final takeaways that people can take from this, our fun facts. And you pointed out about the sunlight that we saw during this eclipse.
Right. The amount of sunlight that we got was about 2% of normal.
Right.
And, you know, another comparison that you could make is that that's about what we'll get on Earth, well, if anyone is left on Earth, 6 billion years from now when the sun is dead, when the sun has run out of fuel, shed all of its outer layers, and all that's left is the core, the hot ashes of the sun. That's going to be about 2% of the brightness that we have. So, you know, the eclipse is a way to kind of imagine
what that would be like.
Yeah, what you're seeing.
I mean, it would be, I don't necessarily want to think about it, but you know, it's a little dire, but it's interesting. And you also said it's like Jupiter's moons too.
Yes, yeah, it's standing on Jupiter's moon like Europa, which has a solid surface. Like that would be similar.
Which just goes to show you how powerful our sun is.
It is, and that, you know, NASA spacecraft can have solar panels that are, you know, solar operated out there. It's a very tricky thing, but you know, I just think it's incredible. We're so lucky, right, to be not just here in this place, but at this time and in this solar system. I mean, there could be billions of stars out there, planets where there are alignments like this happening, but is there anyone there to appreciate it?
Right.
I mean, you know, Carl Sagan once said that we are a way for the universe to know itself. And I think that is absolutely true for something like today.
100%. I mean, truly, if we're not here to enjoy it and learn something from it, you know.
Well, and you know, we actually don't even have that long, because at least for a total eclipse, we only have about 5 million years, because the moon is slowly moving away.
Yeah.
And eventually it's going to be so far away that we're only going to get annular eclipses. So gotta take advantage of it while you can.
And we learned some things about the moon and the topography of the moon. So this really offered us a lot. You know, sometimes I feel like the annular eclipses are kind of like the Skipper to the Barbie of the total eclipse, Jim. But like, honestly, like Skipper was kind of great.
Skipper was cool. I mean,
right?
you know, in that telescope feed, we could see the mountains of the moon.
Yeah.
And those are really cool because now we've mapped the moon so well with the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter that our eclipse calculations and the maps are so much more accurate because the thing that we didn't take into account in the past were the mountains on the moon and also the terrain of the Earth itself. So now we have so much more accurate maps than we've ever had before.
I love it. You guys, thank you so much. I've learned so much from you. Want to send it back over to Jim. Jim, you enjoyed it as well. But again, like, the total gets all the attention, but like, this was awesome.
This is incredible, and I mean, you know, it was so awesome to be a part of such a big crowd too, Alex, which I was blessed with on this particular trip, and the fact that you could hear when we went into Annularity, they were just totally roaring out there, and to hear about 80 to 100,000 people, it was like somebody scored a touchdown. I mean, that's exactly what it was like. You know, some of the balloonists with the burners, which is how they get the hot air balloon up, they all fired up their burners. Brad Reynolds got that on camera. It was just absolutely awesome to be a part of that. So I'm still kind of reeling in this. It was a magical moment, and you just kind of step back for a second and you process it all. There is a lot of science involved, and you just heard the gentleman that Alex was talking to mention some of the things that, you know, are obviously very interesting. We got a chance to talk to Dr. Nicki Viall, and she is a astrophysicist, okay, with NASA Goddard. And this is what she had to say about one of the experiments that they did while we were in the eclipse.
So right now, NASA has some rocket launches that are happening to study not the sun, but actually how the atmosphere of the Earth and the ionosphere of the Earth respond to this reduction of sunlight. The ionosphere, it's called that because the atmosphere turns into an ionized state, and so that affects how the radio waves propagate. And so it'll be like nighttime, just in that path of annularity.
So think about that. When we get an eruption, all right, a coronal mass ejection off the sun, you interrupt that ionosphere. That's where we see the aurora borealis as we know it. But, you know, what does it do to GPS? What does it do to our communications and things here on Earth? It does a lot, especially the stronger ones. And we haven't had one of those in a while. But that was like an interruption. So they could use that as a basis, if you will, for that experiment. So neat stuff, guys, both in terms of anyone who's on the ground allowing to view it in awe, or a scientist that's trying to find essential information in our Earth's magnetic ionosphere.
And welcome back to our continuing coverage of the annular solar eclipse. From Oregon to Texas, Annularity has crossed the country, and very exciting. Most states saw Annularity with the ring of fire around the sun, except for us here in Oregon. We got the clouds that came in. A lot of sad faces out here, but we did get to see the partial, and that's actually going on. Have about another minute or so left in the partial eclipse here in Oregon before that ends the show for the day. Now, I do want to talk about how we view the sun. Now, many of you had these solar glasses, or perhaps you made a pinhole projector because you can't look directly at the sun. I want to bring in Aerica Needham from Daystar Lights. Come on in here, Aerica. Hi there. Hi. So I had the chance to talk to you yesterday. You guys brought a big telescope with solar filters, and you make solar filters, which is kind of the point in all of this. So tell me what you were looking at during the solar eclipse.
So when we were able to actually get enough view through the solar film, because you can only see the sun, we had to wait for all of the clouds to come away. I was able to actually see a little bit of dippling around the edge of the moon, where there's a bunch of mountains and craters happening like on the side of the moon. And I also saw a nice little bit, because we're in solar maximum, there's a lot of sunspot activity, and as the moon came away on the disk of the sun, I was able to see a nice big sunspot that's about the size of the Earth.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how does the fact that we had the eclipse change what you could see today versus yesterday?
Oh, You mean the moon? The moon covered up a lot of the disk of the sun, of course, but the sunspot activity has been about the same. It takes a while for them to process all of the energy and magnetic things that are happening as the sunspot activity is happening.
Yeah.
So it's been about the same on the surface of the sun.
Yeah.
And the moon just came in front of it today.
Oh, I hate that we missed Annularity because I really want to see that ring of fire. What about you?
It's all and I've been an eclipse chaser for most of my life, and there's always this daring moment of, are we going to see it or not? And it was so interesting with the clouds this morning. We were watching a band just about 8 miles south of us where they were able to see it, and so we were watching the clouds almost get to us, but then as the moon covered the sun, the clouds slowed down because there was less heat that we were able to move the clouds with.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So, you think that, we felt the temperature drop.
Yes, we felt the temperature drop.
Yes.
And the clouds, we were able to watch them slow down.
Slow down. I observed that as well, just out here, just visually, if the clouds were moving all morning. Then they did slow down.
We all watched that band, just like I said, about 8 miles that way.
Yeah.
And they slowed down, and then as the Annularity passed, they sped back up, and we were able to see about the last half hour, 40 minutes of the partials coming back out. Yeah, so
and that was
amazing.
very exciting as well. And so you guys do these filters. You have filters for binoculars. You guys were all set today for everyone.
We were super prepared. We actually were able to offer custom designs on our solar glasses. So if there's other people with events getting ready for 2024, yes, you went with the magical unicorns. We have some space laser cat designs, and our universal lens filters. Those guys have been very popular, where those can go over any standard camera for like a DSLR camera. We've also got a lot of folks with like spotting scopes for birding, and we make 50, 70, and 90 millimeter varieties of those. We also have the solar film that goes into the glasses and the other filters just like that.
So you guys are set.
We are set.
Yes,
well, that's
ready for the next one.
Exactly. That's our
24.
business.
All right, Aerica, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
So yes, disappointment that we didn't get to see the ring of fire, but still exciting. And you needed the glasses to see the partials, so that was key. All right, let's go back to Chris Bruin, who is in Ely, Nevada. And Chris, now that you're done, I guess you might have a minute or two left with partial. Are you still seeing anything there?
Yeah. Well, let me see. I think we've got just a little sliver left, so let's just check it out and see. I see just a teeny little bit left. We're almost done, the Annular Eclipse, and the crowds have really kind of drifted away. We had about 1,000 folks, I would say, here, and then immediately after the eclipse, the temperature drop, the whole experience, a lot of them kind of ventured out, and that's the beauty of being in a small town. We're going to get reactions, but we're running out of time, so we're going to hit this after the break. But one thing I want to show you is the sky. We had such great weather, and a lot of people were taking note of that temperature drop. Here in Ely, Nevada, it officially dropped 6 degrees at the airport, going from 45 to 39, and in some spots we even dropped down. We were measuring a temperature of 37 at the time of Annularity, and that was really notable. And for me, one of the coolest things, seeing the ring of fire too, was just incredible. And the fact that even with 9% of the sun still visible, it was that bright, you still needed the eye protection. But watching it was mesmerizing. The whole coverage from Oregon all the way back through here in Nevada, New Mexico, and into Texas. I mean, it's just so cool, and it's so cool to see the majority of the crews getting to see the full thing and the weather clearing out nicely. Coming up, we're going to talk to some folks and their experience, what they saw, and any cool facts that this whole event. Welcome back into the Weather Channel's continuing live coverage of the Great American Eclipse. We just ended the whole event here in Ely, Nevada, where I am, and things are ending pretty quickly here across the western part of the country, even with the partial eclipse now fully out of view from our location. But it was a spectacle. We want to get reactions. We have Jeremy and Rob. You're with the Exploratorium, and you're helping out. That's right. Yes. On your birthday, by the way. And this is your family, your girlfriend, and your mom, and you guys traveled from New York. Or New Jersey.
Yep, right outside of New York City, New Jersey.
What did you guys think?
It was amazing. I mean, this is what we've been planning for years. I have been chasing eclipses since I was a little boy, and I knew from when I was 12 that on my 24th birthday, we'd have an eclipse on October 14th, and I'd be able to see it in Panama, which is actually where my mom and I are from. She was born in Panama, but I knew that there was a 96% chance of clouds, being a meteorologist, that on that date, on this date, and I figured, you know what, maybe we'll play it safe and go somewhere a little bit higher in elevation, with less clouds, and it just so happens that the Exploratorium is also doing the same.
So, Mom, what did you think?
Spectacular.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been to 2 total eclipses before.
Okay.
And so one would think that an annular eclipse isn't as great, but it was spectacular. I mean, to see the ring of fire, to see that dim light that normally you don't see, and just this location, you couldn't beat it. Yeah. This high elevation, the train in the back growing down the track with the steam coming out, and just beautiful. The mountains in the background, it was extraordinary. And on my son's birthday, I really couldn't ask for better.
Devonna, what did you think?
Yeah, it was truly incredible. I mean, it was definitely worth the travel. I mean, of course, being here on his birthday, but also just to see the Ring of Fire, and it was my first annular eclipse as well. It was just amazing, and to see everyone come out was just incredible.
All right, Rob, I want to bring you into the mix because you guys are operating the telescopes too. Right. Was there anything particular that you guys saw during that Ring of Fire?
Well, what was interesting is there were things coming off the surface of the sun that we saw, and this is the first Ring of Fire I've ever seen. I didn't know we could actually see as much activity as we could, because it's brighter than a total eclipse when you can really see the corona and everything. So it was pretty amazing to see the sunspot. It's an active sun. When we did this in 2017, it was a quiet sun. So the active sun had tons of sunspots on it, lots of activity. It was really exciting to see it.
Really? And so just really quickly, we got about 30 seconds or so. What was the one thing that stood out to you the most during the whole experience?
I think what was amazing to me was actually not so much the telescope, but standing here and looking myself at it, seeing that ring, that fiery ring, really impressed me much more than I thought. It was extraordinary. So happy to be here to see it.
Yeah, and that's what everyone's saying, guys. I want to bring in my fellow partner, Jim Cantore. He's in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where you guys had prime viewing conditions there as well. And again, for me, the Ring of Fire, and we're hearing from everybody, just because it didn't get dark like it did in a total solar eclipse, it really was a whole different type of experience that you don't typically get to see. And I know, Charles Peak, you were there as well. What stood out to you the most? For me, it was that temperature drop. We officially dropped 6 degrees, going from 45 to 39 in just that amount of time. It would have been colder in a total, but to see that in an annular eclipse with the Ring of Fire in the shadows, spectacular.
Chris, I actually thought you had one of the neatest things when you showed the trees and where you could see the eclipse going on the ground through the trees. Didn't you think that was cool,
that was
Pete?
Awesome.
Well, guess what, guys? They sent 2 of the 3 bald guys at the Weather Channel, Goodloe being the other one. And he can be not bald on occasion if he chooses to be. But right here to Albuquerque for this, so we rarely get to work together. But you were also in the total.
Right.
What did you were running from the clouds too, like I was in Carbondale. But did you get to see any of the total at all?
Yeah, saw the whole thing.
All right. So compare that one to this.
Well, I'll tell you,
since Chris was talking about that
one of the things, my wife was there and she had the video and I was doing another camera.
Right.
And I went back and listened to the video after this and you could hear her crying during it. It was that emotional for her in that totality. When it goes dark, you're hearing the birds chirping. I mean, all of a sudden it's nighttime.
Right.
This was cool.
That's the difference. It did not get as dark, and that's the difference. But it was still neat to see that ring.
Yeah.
I mean, we stuck with that ring for so long. It was beautiful, and it was perfect. And like Chris talked about in Nevada, we had the cool down. All right, we had a couple of degrees, and you can almost feel the breeze coming down from the north, right? Just really cooling us up. So I'm glad you enjoyed it, brother.
Yeah,
hopefully we'll see you out there in 2024.
Follically challenged duo, right, brother?
That's right. Always. But we get it done. Guys, stick around. We got another hour of coverage for you. We'll try and get some people's reaction. What did they think? Was it as special as they thought it was going to be, or was it even more so than that? Either way, we hope you got a chance to enjoy it and certainly enjoyed part of this special day here with the eclipse.
And welcome back to our continuing coverage of the solar eclipse, the annular solar eclipse that came in just before 8 a.m., started as a partial in Oregon, and then went right across 8 states and exited over Texas, now moving over the Gulf of Mexico, Central America, and will finish just east of South America over the Atlantic Ocean at sunset tonight. The annular solar eclipse came in through here just as the clouds came in as well. We had some clearing earlier this morning. And then the clouds started moving in. It was a whole bank of clouds that just sat there right at the time of annularity. And so we did not get to see the ring of fire. But as the moon exited from over the sun, eclipsing fully the sun, we got a partial. And we started to see a breakup of the clouds. We got to see the partial. And then we actually got clear skies and really, truly got to put on our eclipse glasses. And the whole crowd here at Eclipse Fest in Fort Klamath got to see that partial eclipse, which in and of itself felt like a little bit of a win. At least we got to see some of it. Let's go back and take a look at what my annularity looked like here and what it felt like when we went through the annular solar eclipse. There are clouds that are covering the sun, but it is very apparent that annularity is happening. The sky overall has dimmed. A darkness has set in. Now we can't see the shadow of the moon over the sun. We can't see the ring of fire because of this big old batch of clouds out here. But it is a noticeable change in the atmosphere. It has gotten darker. You can really kind of see it when you just take a look out in the distance, and where we do have some clearing skies, you can kind of get a sense of how it's gotten darker. Sort of like you would have at dusk. So there's that, and there's also just the feel to the air. The temperature feels to have gotten a little bit colder. Yeah, I mean, there definitely was a change in the atmosphere. You could feel it. It wasn't a significant drop in temperature. It was chilly this morning anyway, in the low 40s, but you felt that change. Now, there's another way that you can actually view the eclipse, and you can even do that if it's completely cloudy or raining outside, and that's by watching it on the visible satellite. Let's look at that. So the way the visible satellite works is that the satellite's orbiting around the Earth, and when the sun is out, that's basically like the flash that illuminates the Earth so that you can see it for the visible spectrum. There's other spectrums that we can use satellites for to view the clouds on Earth, but from a visible perspective, when the sun goes away, you can't see it, it goes dark. So you can actually see that stripe go across the country when we saw that the moon eclipsed the sun. So pretty exciting, and just a unique way to view an eclipse. Across the nation, you had the chance to see the partial, just like I ended up seeing here in Fort Klamath, and that's over now. But not just in the path of annularity, but in Georgia and in Tennessee and in the Dakotas, and anywhere that you had some at least partly cloudy skies and a chance to see the sun, you got the chance to see that partial eclipse here. And I'm seeing some pictures and hearing reports from friends and family across the country that did that very thing. Now let's go over to Alex Wilson in San Antonio, where you got the ring of fire. Alex, how are people reacting to that now?
Well, I'm about to talk to some of them because everybody has had an absolute everybody was very nervous, Jen, because like you, we had a little bit of cloud cover and everybody was looking at me and I was like, I was kind of that Homer Simpson backing into the trees meme as the clouds were hanging around, but we did get it. We had the skies clear. I'm here with Josie and Bailey now. Bailey has been wearing her glasses. It's almost nap time. What did you think as you saw this, Josie?
Well, it was amazing. This is the most amazing experience for me. When I was little, I heard about the eclipse and everything, but I was never able to see it. Yeah. And this is magic. Thank you for putting all this together. Now I have started to talk to my grandkids and my family who wasn't able to see it. Thank you so much.
And you're going to be out here, I assume, now for the total in April?
Yes, of course.
And Bailey too?
And Bailey too.
All right, perfect. Well, it's Bailey's nap time as well. So, Marisol, you're with a group of people who have an interest in science. What was it like to be here for this?
Yes, it's amazing. It was so exhilarating. This is my first solar eclipse, so I will definitely be at the one in April. And I got to share with my mom. It was our first time for us. I'm actually here with a club here at San Antonio College called SACNIS, and we're the Society for the Advancements of Chicanos / Hispanics and Native Americans in Science, and we just thrive on this stuff. We're so grateful to SAC and to the Societies of Physics Students, another club here at SAC, who helped put this on, who put up the telescope, went through telescope training. This was an amazing event, so great for the community, and it's just been a really, you're right, you're absolutely right. We were a little concerned about cloud coverage, but then the clouds kind of dispersed, and it was just kind of right at this.
It was like it was meant to be,
yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
So
I couldn't believe it.
I was upstairs with the NASA scientists, but we were all saying the same thing. I'm sure your group felt the same. Everybody was taking something different from this and learning something different.
I will say it was not just an educational experience, but it's very emotional. You know, it made me think of just how insignificant we all are. Right. You know, this thing is so much bigger than all of us. And it really, I mean, with everything that's going on right now in this world today, this was a chance for us to unite just this one moment, you know? And I don't mean to be cheesy or, you know, but this was really big. And it was amazing. I loved it.
Well, you're right. It's something that we as humanity can share with one another. And what is it? Everybody came out here to have a good time, get along. Everybody talk about what a beautiful sight they just saw.
I know as students, we were a little concerned about protesters, if any. I mean, here in San Antonio, and we're very blessed to be in San Antonio and at a school who's very diverse, and we don't usually have problems, but all over the news, that's what you hear. And there was none of that today. So it was just great. It was just a really spectacular event overall.
Well, thank you so much for sharing, and I hope I see you back here for the total eclipse too. We are all so excited, Paul, and I know in Corpus Christi you had the same excitement, and everybody had a blast, and is getting the same takeaway.
Like really, really shortly.
All right, I think we're having trouble with Paul's mic, but anyway. A lot of groups out here of scientists and students. There are so many students here because, Paul, this is an education center. It's a planetarium as well. So a lot of local students from the San Antonio area have come out to kind of share in the event. But as I mentioned, a lot of citizen scientists and real scientists came into San Antonio knowing that this was going to be one of the best bet locations to capture that ring of fire. And sure enough, those clouds, they made me sweat a little bit, but then they got out.
Yeah, we had the same concern here as well, Alex. We had the same feeling. You know, we enjoyed that the cold front came through, which brought the clouds, but also brought cooler, drier air. I know you were sweating out yesterday in San Antonio, so that did feel good, but it was concerning. But you know, that's the thing about this eclipse. It's actually still going on. We still have kind of the end of our partial eclipse overhead, but we did get to see these clouds thin up enough to capture the I keep on calling it totality, but I guess it's called annularity. So that 90%, that ring of fire. In fact, we have video of what happened to us about a minute or so. We're going to roll that for you right now. Take a listen.
A spectacular sight.
Oh, we don't have it. Okay, we don't have that. But bottom line is we got, I guess, the longest duration of the annularity of anywhere here in the U.S. It was about 3.5 minutes where Jen is in the Klamath Falls area of Oregon. They had the cloud cover, didn't see that totality. We had about 3:45 where Chris Bruin is in Ely, and a little bit more as he got towards Jim Cantore in Albuquerque. And then Alex had maybe 10 or 15 seconds less than we did. We have 5 minutes of annularity. Now we have that video. We're going to roll it for you right now. Boom! boom, there we have it. We have our ring of fire. 90% of the sun is covered now by the moon, and we had a cold front came through this morning, and it's cooler, drier air. But that drier air, you can feel it cool down quickly. The whole team here on Mustang Island, we've noticed our temperature has dropped the last 20 minutes or so because 90% of that energy from the sun is being obscured. It looks like, it's maybe an hour before sunset, but it's kind of this eerie glow here without the filter on the ground. But that is an amazing view. And the next time we'll see this, well, it's not in our lifetime here in Corpus Christi. We will see or get close to the next total solar eclipse coming up in 6 months. But now we're seeing that perfect ring of fire, 11:58 Central Time, right here in Mustang Island State Park. It's been sold out. We do see some people out here, but perhaps today's wind has dampened the crowd down a bit. It's been windy and cool all day long, but yeah, get your glasses on, look to the sky, and enjoy. Even with the cloud cover, it's still not safe to look without the glasses. This is a phenomenon that I'm very happy that I can see. Yeah, and I can still see a little bit of the partial eclipse. It's not quite done yet, and it's not going to officially end. I believe we have another, say, 20 minutes or so before the moon eventually just clears out. It will have nothing but a full disk of sun, but you still need to have that protective eye gear. We can talk more about the protective eye gear in a minute, but we are so glad that we did have that cold front because it's been a hot, steamy kind of early October weather here across parts of coastal Texas here. You can see the Gulf of Mexico behind me. This is maybe because of the winds that have kicked up with this cold front. It's been choppy, but they're still out here towards the fishing pier, fishing pass pier. Folks have been out here all day long enjoying that. But, we talk about this. You got to have some type of eye protection to safely view this. And whether it's these little paper glasses or some folks have a little more high-tech stuff, including our very own Jim Cantore. And Jim Cantore, you're over at Albuquerque. You've got those kind of high-tech, what are those, the welding glasses or something? And they look quite industrial and sturdy. But when I saw you, and again, we talked about how we're brothers in bald head, and trust me, I wish my hair didn't go this fast. I would have cut it that often. It brought to mind someone else, Jim. I don't know if you ever turned where you are at Albuquerque, but there's another bald gentleman by the name of Vin Diesel.
Oh, dude, that's fantastic.
It's like who wore it better, Vin Diesel or Jim Cantore? Jim, man, my money is on you. You wore those welding goggles better than Vin Diesel did. I want the public to weigh in here because I mean, you took those goggles to a whole new level, my brother.
All right, so here, Paul, we'll do the real because I had them up on my head when you showed that. So here it is right here. But I got to give a little bit of a tough look. All right, like Vin's doing, like he's about to rip somebody's head off, right? So you guys be the judge, yeah, but thanks, Paul. These are welding glasses, okay, and they're about as good as it gets. I think people are like in awe of these things, and I just love them. We're just coming out of everything right now. Yeah, we're out of it. We're out of it completely after about 3 hours. Thanks, Paul Goodloe. I love you, man. Guess what? When we have Paul on again. He's going to have welding glasses, just saying. Brad Temyer, official meteorologist here for the Balloon Fiesta. How many years have you been doing this?
I've been doing this for now 8 years.
But you're a balloonist
I am.
First.
Yep. Balloonist first, and then I kind of worked my way up through doing various events and found my way down here.
So, yesterday we saw all of the different shaped balloons. The rodeo was going on. What was your favorite? You've seen so many of these over the years. What was your favorite shape this year?
This year? Ooh. That's tough. I really like the sloth.
That was cool.
It's kind of perfect just because it moves so slow, like balloons do, and everything. It's just kind of a perfect.
That was pretty apropos, wasn't it? All right, so let's get to the forecast. So you and I both looked at this morning. We had a few high clouds move into our. We weren't worried about those. Those were going east, but we looked off to the west and we're like, there's this band of like thick almost like cirrostratus clouds up there, and we're like, oh, please, God, break that up. And it did.
It did. We were fortunately dry enough here that it just never really made its way in, and we just had a little few accent cirrus clouds.
So this morning I showed everybody the wind profiler
Yeah.
on the air. Brad zoomed in, and I showed him how we had this strong drainage coming down, and also very light winds when you went up. So the other part of the box was really weak. But you thought that was just the trough that came through that really gave us that drainage.
Yeah, there was a really weak trough, and we even at 2 o'clock this morning, we had a strong northerly wind. And normally we don't develop that northerly wind till like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. So that's where I think it was more the influence of the trough than actually the drainage itself. The net result was the same, right? We still had the box that we were able to box.
Right.
The pilots were able to box the winds or box the field, but it was a really strong drainage, and so that resulted in some landings that were stronger than what we would like to see and everything like that. And that's why a lot of the pilots decided to stay here. That, and I think also the show of the eclipse. It was
absolutely. I mean, this place was absolutely packed. Temperature-wise, how much did we drop during the eclipse?
I think we dropped 5 to 7 degrees across the field. Here is what we kind of measured across the field.
Oh, you could feel it. You absolutely could feel it.
It was cold. I mean, you definitely saw people bundling up in blankets and everything like that during the eclipse. It was just like the light was muted across the field.
Yes, it totally was. Hey, we got about 30 seconds left. In terms of Thursday, let's go back to Thursday when you had to shut it all down.
Yep.
What was the wind criteria that made you do that?
So the wind criteria, we didn't have much of an inversion at all, which is just a warm layer aloft that keeps the winds from mixing.
That was when the cold front was coming through.
Yep. It was post-frontal, but we had stronger winds aloft, and we could see that on the profiler, and we just didn't have much of an inversion. We actually launched a small balloon, and to measure that inversion, and it wasn't the right atmosphere.
Brad, I knew you could answer that in 10 seconds.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I'll show you my eclipse footage coming back at the break. Stick around.
All right, welcome back in. Solar eclipse coverage may be winding down, and the Ring of Fire was a true spectacle. But how about fire in the trees? Peak fall color here for many of the trees in Ely, Nevada. We've had some very crisp, cold mornings, but it's been dry, and that's ideal conditions here. And while the mountains have already seen snow, we're really seeing that color change here in Ely. It just adds to the atmosphere during the annular eclipse. I mean, what a setting here in Ely, Nevada. And if you missed the coverage of Annularity, which is when the moon was completely centered over the sun and you had that ring of fire, well, we want to replay that experience of what we witnessed here in Ely, Nevada. Take a listen. Let me look up at the sun. Oh, there we go. We got the Ring of Fire right there. You got the crowds behind us. And look at the Exploratorium. Here we go. We have just hit Annularity right now. Wow, that is so cool. Look at that. Oh, man. So we'll be in this for a little over 3 minutes, about 3 minutes, 43 seconds to be exact. And how cool is that? Guys, that is live from the Exploratorium telescope right here in Ely, Nevada. The temperature made it to 43, but I bet you it has dropped at least a couple of degrees. And even though the majority of the sun is covered, you still have to have your eclipse glasses on. It's tempting to want to take them off and look at the sun, but it's so bright. It's so bright. But it's so cool to see that. Wow, just look at that here from the Great Basin in Nevada. And what a perfect day to experience this. In a place like Ely, we sit above 6,500 feet. Okay, so you get quite a contrast in temperatures. And in a dry climate, when you get dim lighting like this, you'll notice a drop. It certainly feels a lot cooler than it did when we were in partial eclipse. And the wavy shadows now, I haven't noticed anything with the animals. I haven't seen too many birds out this morning. It's still as can be. I mean, it is as quiet as can be outside, aside from all the cheers of all the people. All right, and listening back to that coverage, you know, we may have had a small crowd, relatively speaking, compared to the 100,000 in Albuquerque for the Balloon Festival and the Annular Eclipse, and maybe some of the huge crowds in San Antonio, but they make up for it in their cheers because it sounded really loud. The town of Ely is about 4,000 folks who call this place home. And I want to take a look at how conditions are in San Antonio because first off, Alex, it's a lot warmer there than it is here, although things are heating up with this dry climate. We're actually headed about 70 degrees. How many people were there, would you say, out in your vicinity? Is there big events going on? Because here in Ely, it may be a small, quaint town, but they've got the Pumpkin Chunkin', which is now happening here at the park. They've got the 5K earlier this morning. They had a golf tournament, and they've got a dinner and a bonfire and a whole bunch of festivities.
And Chris, didn't they have like locomotives? Were you going to drive it? Because I feel like there was like an opportunity for you to drive a locomotive.
That was the other thing. I mean, that was the highlight, I think. It's almost like you stepped back in time about 100 years. Trains here are still a very popular, mode of transportation, really for just the experience. And they have several routes daily that you can actually ride the train yourself. But they had an eclipse train, and there were folks that were out in the beautiful countryside, surrounded by mountains, blue sky, and fall colors, and taking in the eclipse with that fresh breeze, because the temperature here dropped quite a bit into the 30s during Annularity. But what was it like in the Riverwalk and there in San Antonio?
It was nice. So we're not too far from the Riverwalk. We're at Scobie Education Center and Planetarium. So they've got a whole setup, including, take a look at this, some giant solar eclipse glasses. So we've got just a little smidge of partial left. So you can actually look through those, and people have been out there, looking through at the sunshine. So, or at the sun, and that partial eclipse that really is, fading away at this point. But Chris asked how many people have been out and about. And we have seen quite a bit of people. I would say a little over, 1,000 to 1,500 people. I think the clouds may have scared some people away, but we had people from in town. We had people from out of town, a lot of families. This was a lot of like multi-generational groups, grandparents, with parents, with children, and everybody taking it all in. And people are still hanging out. The mariachi band has still been playing, and of course the food trucks are still serving, and everybody's just kind of walking around sharing their experiences with everyone else. A lot of science clubs here as well, and I think that's been the takeaway. No matter if you're a little one with no science education or if you are a NASA astrophysicist, you were able to take something different away and share it with everybody else. So that has been the really cool takeaway here in San Antonio, not to mention the fact that the clouds cleared. We've got much more coming up from our other teams out in the field in just a moment.
And welcome back, everybody. A great eclipse, a great Fiesta, and to wrap it up for us and how he thought it went is the spokesperson for the Fiesta. This is Tom Garrity. Tom, wow. That's all I got to say is wow.
Right? You bring us good weather. I don't know what everybody says about weather.
That doesn't always happen when I show up. Tom,
I know.
For the record. But we did in this case. We knew it was coming. And the cheers from the crowd.
Yeah, it was like an NFL game.
That's
everybody
exactly
was
what I
cheering.
said.
Really?
It was like somebody just scored a touchdown in Ann Arbor.
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
Because that's how many people you had here.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, we had in excess of 100,000 people. It was by far the largest crowd. The city opened up an extra set of parking lots just to make sure people could get here, not just for the end of the ascension, but also for the eclipse. So it was really one of these special moments for the event, and I'm glad that you were here to join us.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate you having us here, and certainly give us such a great perch to show everybody, the sea of humanity out here. But what's next? I mean, how do you exhale from this?
Boy, well, we get through. We can't exhale yet.
Not yet.
Yeah,
Tomorrow's exhale.
Well, we still have some events tonight.
Yes.
And so we have a glow tonight, and weather permitting, and of course tomorrow we'll have our farewell mass ascension, where we'll have about 450 hot air balloons all launching from Fiesta Park. And then we focus on on 2024 and number 52, and just making sure that our pilots feel like that it's worth them coming to Albuquerque, which it is, not just because of the great weather in the Albuquerque box, but also because of the great hospitality.
Well, you keep seeing the swell.
Yeah.
So is there anything like being talked about that may change in 2024?
You never know.
You can't really allude to that with me here.
Well, yeah. I mean, our
Are you going to run for office or not?
Oh, I'm not running for any. No.
That's where I'm going with this.
Oh, okay.
But
that's
no, it's work seems to work swimmingly.
Yeah. When you have 500 plus balloons in the Albuquerque box just kind of percolating over the field, right. That's just a special moment. And we were totally blessed to have all these different special moments during the event. Right now we have the music fiesta going on. So, I'm sure we're going to try and find ways to add other events. We had a giant sandcastle in the northern part.
Country music.
Yeah, Lee Bryce
is playing tonight.
He's headlining. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's pretty sweet right there.
So, there's just a lot of people that help make this happen, including a volunteer board of directors. There's a 20-person full-time staff, and it all comes together.
It takes a village, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. It really does.
Tom, seriously,
Thanks,
thank you
Jim.
so much for having us. And,
glad you're here.
Whether it's for the Weather Channel or myself, I'm coming back.
Good.
This is one of those things.
You're always welcome.
You're going to come back. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. All right, guys. Again, so far so good. We're not ready to exhale yet here, but Paul Goodloe, you had quite the long period in Annularity, about 5 minutes. You had the most time there, and just perfect viewing of that ring of fire, brother. That was fantastic.
Yeah, 5 minutes, 1 second of that ring of fire.
Yes.
But I tell you, it was touch and go to start the day, Jim, because we had good weather to begin it, and then all of a sudden some clouds came over. Then they pushed away, and it brought out just fantastic viewing here. We're on Mustang Island in the Corpus Christi area. And you mentioned, bringing good weather. Last 2 times I was here, back about 3 years ago, Hurricane Hannah, which ripped up the Bob Hall Pier. Before that, I was here for Harvey, which also made landfall here in Rockport in the Portland area. So it's known for what happened in Houston, but it really did hit here in the Corpus Rockport area. But there's always, in terms of what we do, some type of weather event that kind of piques our interest to become meteorologists down the road. We talked to Dr. Blend over at the Science Center here in Corpus Christi about what this could do to perhaps spark interest in young kids. Take a listen.
As a teacher myself, I think the most exciting thing, especially here at the museum, is this is a science teachable moment. And I'm not afraid to wish and dream that maybe this event might turn on some kids, some future astronomers.
Yeah, no doubt it probably did. I'm just checking out the sun right now. We have just a sliver of the moon obscuring the sun here. So the entire eclipse is about to end here in the U.S. So it was a blast. I'm always happy when I'm here not covering a storm because people do. They like to see us and they don't like to see us no matter where we go. But I'll tell you what, if you did not get a chance to see this annular eclipse or a partial eclipse across the U.S., we do have the total eclipse coming up in 6 short months, a little bit less than 6 short months, April 8th, 2024. So I believe it's a Monday, so make it a long weekend. Find your path of totality if you can. It's something that's a life-changing, a spiritual moment that, in my opinion. So we'll have more coverage coming up after the break.
One of the most beautiful parts of this annular solar eclipse was the country that it traversed here. We hit 25 national monument or park sites across the country, from Oregon all the way to Texas. So that in itself was a big deal. Crater Lake nearby here, a really popular spot. I know a lot of folks went to that. I'm in Fort Klamath. You can see the trees behind me. I mean, we just have a gorgeous site out there of fall color. And the experience getting here and driving to this location in itself was a wonderful experience. The build up for the eclipse, all of it really was just in itself an experience that I will never forget. And a lot of folks are here camping at Eclipse Fest. They're in their RVs. Some of them have already pulled out now that the eclipse is over, but some are staying tonight for the headliner concert, which is Smash Mouth, and the Eclipse Fest does run through tomorrow. You've got some of the food vendors and everyone set up, and they just wrapped up a donut eating contest. Now this was an annular eclipse, and you get that ring of fire. The total eclipse is when the moon completely covers the sun, and you can actually look at it with your naked eye. We had one back in 2017. There'll be another one in 2024. So we are excited and looking ahead to that. Here's what some of the meteorologists who experienced the 2017 one have to say about that and what's to come.
Oh, that's awesome.
It is such a unique experience. It's hard to even articulate it.
It is so special, so rare. Can you tell the darkness is happening quicker and quicker?
It just kind of takes your breath away. Here we go.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yes.
It just felt otherworldly.
For the few moments that I had in totality, and I do mean moments, in a spot that was supposed to have the most totality, all right, in Illinois. Oh, don't you dare. Don't you dare cloud build in front of me. I could remember hearing people outside the stadium cheering because they saw it, and we had a cloud. But, you know, even those few moments were just magical.
It's all weather dependent. We had some of our own crews who got a little less than lucky with the weather that they had. I got super lucky, so I'm not complaining. I got to see it picture perfect.
Oh my gosh, that is the coolest thing.
I'm not like super spacey to begin with, but once I saw it, seeing is believing, 100%.
Everything's dark around you. It's in the middle of the day.
Oh my gosh, look at that. You see it coming out on the other side.
It's one of those things where you have to be there to feel it and see the beauty of, you know, the moon blocking out the sun. I remember being really moved by the 2017 eclipse.
It's emotional. I can't explain why, but it is.
You have this, you know, moon, earth, sun all lining up, and you're like, oh, wait a second, there's something way bigger out there than this tiny little experience I'm having on this planet.
We're already seeing some of the oohs and ahs.
Was very quiet yet peaceful because there were all these crowds, all these people walking around, all this hubbub leading up to it, and then at the moment everybody just takes their glasses off, takes it in, and it literally felt like you were transported elsewhere.
It's when you're in that totality. You know, because, I mean, certainly leading up to it, you can see it happening, you can feel it going on. It's like building to the crescendo, right? At the end of a musical.
There's the diamond ring.
It's breaking. Look at the diamond. And then you hit it. Then you get there. And you're just like, wow. Holding that note. Holding that tune. And that's how you feel out there.
The annular eclipse, I feel like, is the appetizer to the big meal that we're going to have next year. It's just such a unique experience that it just still even gives me the chills to think about it.
Everybody likes the opening act at the concert, but you're there for the big show, but you can still appreciate what the opening act offers.
What's my dream place to go for the 2024? Probably, I think Carbondale again. They're supposed to get another shot at getting the total eclipse. So, I mean, that would be awesome to go back and this time not have a cloud. Oh my goodness. Look at that.
Well, first of all, I think everyone who saw the annular eclipse ring of fire today is not going to call it an appetizer or an opening act anymore, because I saw and heard all of their reactions, and it really was something otherworldly. I mean, it definitely just hit something inside when you get to see it. I haven't yet. I've been through 2 eclipses, the total back in 2017 in Nashville. We had a cloud that came in right at the time of totality. Of course, today here in Fort Klamath, we had a bank of clouds that came in just at the time of Annularity, so I didn't get to see that ring of fire. I didn't get to see totality back then. So I am ready for the 2024 eclipse. Where will I go? Well, I mean, look, clouds in April can be difficult. The path takes it from Texas all the way up through the Midwest here and maybe somewhere western New York, even into Maine. Actually, there's options. I'm thinking Texas. I'm thinking Texas, my best odds of no clouds, but we will see. We'll make a forecast when we get closer to the next solar eclipse.
Here in San Antonio, it was a nerve-wracking few minutes leading up to the eclipse. Even at the start of it, when we got the partial eclipse, we had quite a bit of cloud cover, but just in time for that ring of fire, the cloud cover cleared, and really, it has been blue sky ever since. On top of that, temperatures comfortable, so the weather could not have been better. I mean, I guess ultimately, like, if we're really being picky, it could have been slightly better, and we could have had clear skies the whole time, but honestly, I think most people here are really happy with what we had. Yesterday, highs around 90. Today, we've been in the 70s. It's been dry in terms of our dew points, so really, really comfortable for all the folks who came out here to Scobie Education Center and Planetarium to really take this in. So they were giving out glasses. We had the Celestron telescope, which, by the way, they're beginning to dismantle. They got some great views that we were able to bring you here on the Weather Channel. We'll continue to show you here as we recap our eclipse coverage for you. But all in all, awesome event. So many people said it was just fun to be out with other people, taking in just how amazing our universe is and learning a little bit more about science in the meantime. It was really fun to see what everybody took from this eclipse and what they learned moving forward and what they were able to share with others. So, you know, again, we look at humanity and being here at this place and this time and getting to capture that, and also leading up to next year's total solar eclipse. So I think getting everybody now even more hyped about what's ahead. But that's what we had here in San Antonio. But if you're just tuning in and you're like, wait, did I miss it all? You are in luck. We've got a best of today's coverage. Take a look.
I am beyond excited. We have breaks in the clouds. We have an opportunity, a very good opportunity, actually, to see the eclipse.
At the Nevada Northern Railway, an incredible viewing spot that allows for uninterrupted views of the annular eclipse.
Annual balloon fiesta. I mean, just look at this sea of humanity out here. Just incredible. Guys, look at all these balloons in the air. I mean, they're just everywhere.
We do have some cloud cover, if I'm being honest, but as we look off towards the west, where that cloud deck is coming from, it is a little bit more sparse. So I do think we'll see more open pockets here as we approach Annularity.
Corpus Christi on Mustang Island, we'll see the maximum obscuring of the sun, and when the moon finally comes right over that sun, all we'll see is that circle, that ring of fire.
Yep, here we go, into Annularity right now. Oh my goodness, look at this. Look at that beautiful ring. The ring of fire, ladies and gentlemen. What an incredible sight.
All right. You can hear the crowd.
There we go. We got the ring of fire right there. You got the crowds behind us. And look at the Exploratorium. Here we go. We have just hit Annularity right now. Wow, that is so cool. Look at that.
Oh, that is so cool. So you get those kind of little sparkles.
Boom, there we have it. We have our ring of fire. But you gotta see this in person. If you can't see this one, you gotta see the next one.
All right, so there you have it. Some of the sights and sounds, the oohs and ahs from today. One of those folks, Jim Cantore in Albuquerque, New Mexico. You know how to pick them, Jim. You had quite a good show there.
Hey, listen, okay, if you take us back to Carbondale, it was a bad day. All right, so I kind of feel like I got the monkey off my back.
I didn't want to say it. I didn't want to make you feel bad.
No, but we got to help Jen out now, right? Because she's got 2 in a row in Nashville and then Klamath, but she's got a great spirit. So we'll make sure she gets sunshine next year, that's for sure. Of course, Jen was in Klamath, Chris in Ely, Nevada. If you got a chance to see him, being able to look through the trees at the eclipse, on the ground, through the leaf. I just thought that was one of the most awesome things I've ever seen. Here in Albuquerque, one of the things that stood out to me when we got into Annularity was looking back at everybody not only cheering, but also seeing the pilots of the balloons fire up their burners like they did after the national anthem and the flyover that we've had each morning here. I just thought that was really awesome. So kind of that eternal flame, if you will, that goes on. Really, really cool. Alex, of course, in San Antonio. Who could forget the colander? And Paul, the big winner there with 5 minutes and 1 second of Annularity. Just absolutely a winner there. So you can see everybody, guys, we really enjoyed bringing this to you today. And, as much weather disasters as we cover and tell you about, it's so nice to share something really good and really positive that makes us all feel good. We don't like bringing you disasters and talking about them, but that is our job. But to bring you something as special as this, it was an absolute pleasure. All right, guys, so if you missed the Annular Eclipse, you got to go to 2039. And, of course, we're going and looking forward to April 8th of 2024 from Texas, where Alex is, in San Antonio, all the way up into beautiful Burlington, Vermont. Hope to see you there. Hope you enjoyed the coverage. Have a great day, everybody.